Oh, hello there. I didn't see you come in. This is Bitcoin Talk Show. I'm Thomas Hunt, and I'm joined by Derek J. Freeman from Peace News Now.
Hey, what's up, Thomas?
It's going good, Derek.
Happy day. It's such a good Wednesday. You must be like 30% poorer, like all the rest of us.
30% poor. I took a little haircut, as they say in Wall Street. Actually, that's about three haircuts. A haircut's about 10%.
Wow.
So that's three haircuts. So you're starting to lose a bit of the head at this point. But we have seen some signs of recovery. It may have hit the bottom. I hadn't looked for a few minutes, and look at that. We're all the way back up to 521, nearing my Friday prediction of 550. Of course, I didn't expect such a large dip on the way back. And this is only the 1 minute chart, so don't get that excited. If we drop out to the 15 minute, we can see the fall all the way to 466. We can see a little bit of this cup formation, perhaps a bottom, and again, you never know, there could be another inverted cup at the top of this bottom, but right now it's at 521. We can even zoom out some more, see that we do seem to have a little bit of recovery. There were some Bitcoins on sale, and they are not so much on sale right now. 520.
Boy, that's good news. I'm glad to see it's recovering, and it was inevitable, right? I mean, there were a lot of fingers pointing blame for the price drop. I heard folks saying it's all those people buying and selling on margin or having credit accounts. Is that what you heard?
I heard a lot of talk about the margin drop. A lot of people believe the timing, that 6 months ago people took a bunch of money on margin, which again is gambling on steroids. That we talked about it this morning on Chris Before Coffee, and we basically said you're playing with stupid money at that point, because just like in the 1920s, when people take margin and they take all these loans, they're betting that the stocks are going to go up. And when the stocks don't go up, like Bitcoin, or the stocks stay about steady, these people can't pay back. So a margin call is when you have to pay your money back. And generally people sell their stocks, they take their loss, and they put the rest in with additional fiat that they have. And that's what a lot of people speculated happened recently.
Seems reasonable enough to me. I could buy it.
There's
But
also the other arguments are the merchant adoption. Merchants are selling for fiat every day. This is a new downward pressure that Bitcoin hasn't had. The other reasonable option is concern over the bit licenses. People are worried what Super Nintendo Losky and his boys at the New York Department of Financial Services are going to do when they totally ignore everyone's advice and decide in less than 45 days what will happen to the state of New York.
what about you? Are you concerned? Is Mad Bitcoin's worried?
I don't live in New York, so I'm not concerned about that. I feel bad for the people of New York, both city and state. I mean, I think it might cause the price to go down, but we've already seen the price go down, so now I don't know. But generally, yeah, people will be concerned, but it could also cause the price to go up. Remember, if New York State's on board, that means that the Winklevoss ETF should be approved. The second market ETF is already operating to large firms and large value individuals. So if we could get the Winklevi ETF out there on the stock market for anyone to buy Bitcoin like a stock, I think we'd see an incredible increase in the amount of money in Bitcoin. So it might go up.
So we forgot to mention, it's fun chatting about the world of Bitcoin with you, Thomas, but you, the listener, can call in and talk about whatever you want in the world of Bitcoin. 1-708-23-COINS is the call-in line. You can also Skype Bitcoin Talk Show, just like bitcointalk.org. So we try and bring the discussion out of bitcointalk.org and around the interwebs to here on this show, where we can all have a real conversation about it. I've got a story that caught my eye this week, Thomas. Delaware is working on legislating the inheritance of digital assets. This from CoinDesk.com. Of course, the headline rubs me the wrong way. Why legislate inheritance of digital assets? Can't my dad just pass along whatever Bitcoin he owns to me and leave it at that? I mean, who else needs to know about these Bitcoins, right?
They should just be writing that it's impossible to regulate the inheritance of digital assets, and what a big problem this is for their whole system. If your dad leaves some Bitcoins in a closet and you find them underneath a shoebox, who's going to report that? who's going to even find it? It's a piece of paper with a wallet key on it. Maybe he wrote the key on the bottom of his shoe. You have no idea. It could be anywhere. It could be in any book, any page, any brain wallet, anywhere, and it can be transmitted in any fashion. And then you could go to any country in the world and pull out those bitcoins. It's amazing.
Well, this is what Nerman Hajdar Begovic says at Coindesk.com. The U.S. state of Delaware has enacted a new law that regulates digital legacy issues and allows family to access their loved ones' digital assets after death or incapacitation. Well, that's kind of weird. Do they even know what they're doing? Notably, for the Bitcoin community, the legislation would help protect the interests of Delaware residents with cryptocurrency holdings. I'm always skeptical when I hear the government is working to protect me. That's like a man knocking on my door and offering me a protection. I'm going to be skeptical of what he's offering. Here, last week, the Delaware House of Representatives passed House Bill 345, the Fiduciary Access to Digital Assets and Digital Accounts Act, which gives heirs and how do you say that? Executors authority to take control of digital accounts and devices, much like physical assets. This is pointless and stupid. There's no point in giving heirs and executors authority to take control of digital accounts and devices in the same way as one does physical assets. Like with physical assets, you actually need to hand over a physical thing. With digital assets, you can just send it across the internet. You can just send it with a USB drive. You don't need an authority figure to intervene here. It's pretty funny. Anyway, this is what the law says. Quote, a fiduciary with authority over, here, let me share the screen, over digital assets or digital accounts of an account holder under this chapter shall have the same access as the account holder and is deemed to, 1, have the lawful consent of the account holder, and 2, be an authorized user under all applicable state and federal law and regulations and any end user license agreement. Ugh. Way to take something simple and make it completely unreadable, totally complicated, introduce legalese.
And what a great way to welcome a new technology to the state of Delaware. We're going to try to tax your bitcoins when you die. Like, we're going to make rules about how you send your bitcoins after you're dead. Isn't that great? Like, welcome new technology. Delaware wants to give you a hug.
Yeah, you're right. The bill is based on the Uniform Fiduciary Access to Digital Assets Act, which has the ridiculous, what's it called, where you just have the letters.
Please tell me it has a good acronym.
No, the acronym is UFADA. 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 So it was created by a nonprofit organization, the Uniform Law Commission. Delaware is the first state to pass legislation based on the UFADA. Ridiculous. I don't even know if I want to continue with this article.
I like the UFADA. Like, I think that's great. And also, we want to take a chance to welcome Jamie Nelson to the show. Hey, Jamie, how's it going?
Hey, guys.
Hey,
it's
Jamie.
Great to be on. I've been wanting to be on with Derek for quite a while.
Oh, cool, Jamie. It's good to be with you. And I so admire your lower third. That is gorgeous. I heard
Yeah, I just posted how to make that on the World Crypto Network Reddit page.
Well, next week, I will have one like yours. Mine is going to look fancy and nice. Right now, I'm just using stupid Google default, and that's beautiful. You've got a Bitcoin donation accepted here up in the corner. That's nice.
And it works. I got a 50-cent donation this morning.
Sweet.
Well, that's the real trick to this, Jamie. I wasn't sure if I was going to go with you, but you can get your own free graphics for your Hangouts at hangoutmagic.com. And at first I wasn't sure about it because I like the way they all look the same. But since there's a program that creates them and the killer app here is putting that QR code on the screen, I really think that that's something that all YouTubers are just going to have to do, whether we like it or not, whether we think it's tacky or not. It's so easy to send someone money, like looking at Jamie's screen right now, as opposed to our screens. So good job, Jamie, on it.
True. Although if people want to send me Bitcoin, it's also easy to do. They just go to derekj.me.
Except, Derek, I tried to send you a change tip last week, and it expired because you never picked it up.
Oh, no, I guess that's on Twitter?
Yes.
It's on Twitter, YouTube comments, Google+, Tumblr, Reddit. You kind of have to create an account or link your account for each one of the services. But once you link your account's just like a wallet that just holds your tips for you. So YouTubers, Twitterers, everyone, create your account one time, link it to all your social networks, and you'll be accepting tips passively, which is the real magic of that thing. You know.
All right, so that's what I got to do. Thanks for the tip.
So let's all get on Twitter now and tip Derek J. Which Twitter account would you like, Derek? The @DerekJ?
@DerekJ.me is the one. That's modeled after my website, which is derekj.me.
Let's see. I'll go ahead and show the people what I'm doing so they can do it at home. You just go to @DerekJ.me, and I'm going to make this public, so I'm going to put a period in front of your name, little Twitter trick, and I'm going to say tip. You don't have to say tip, but you can just say, like, here's $1. And then you go change tip. You just put change tip on the end, and if your account is set up, like my account is set up, and so my account's already set up. I already have a little bit of Bitcoin in there, so I know this is going to work. But all you'd have to do is set up an account at changetip.com, send some Bitcoin over, wait 45 minutes, and then you can tip as much or as little as you want using simple notifications like $1 or 50 cents, or you can do it in Bitcoin or in Satoshis. They have a bunch of fun keywords like coffees and sodas. But all you have to do is just push that, and then it's going to tweet, and then soon the change tip bot will tweet to Derek, and then Derek has to create an account. So we can just do this live. There it is. The bot is on it. So here it is.
Yeah, I tried it to some other people too, and I'm like, hey, dude, you didn't go pick up the tip I sent you. He's like, oh, man, I thought that was a spam link trying to get me to get spam.
In the old world, it was spam. In the old world, you couldn't send very small amounts of money like that, but in the new world, you can. And sadly, I would like to report that Jenna Marbles refused to accept any of my tips.
No, Jenna, she
has failed.
Hey, wait, I got a little notification here. Okay, so
here it is. Derek, just show us how easy it is to create an account, and hopefully you won't expose your password or anything, but it should work.
Well, I don't know. I'll make a new password. So, okay, I'm clicking this link. Yay. Change tip, collect. Oh, connect with Twitter. Okay, I will. Do. That was easy.
There it is. Now you've created your account, and now you have $1. So that was just that easy. That's all Jenna had to do. A lot of people sent her money last week. She has a social media team. I'm sure hopefully they're watching this now, @Jenna_Marbles. All your social media team had to do was follow that link, link your Twitter account, link your Reddit, link your YouTube account, and you can accept tips on ChangeTip.
So now do I have to link all these things that are by the side here?
If you want to get money on them.
Yep. If you want to get money on those services with an account, you have to link them.
So,
maybe Twitter.
I'll link it with Google+. I'll link it with Peace News Now here. All right. Accept. So now Peace News Now can tip people and accept tips passively?
Yep. Do the YouTube one, too. The YouTube's really... it might be the same account because it's Google, but linking to your YouTube account makes it so that people can just watch Peace News Now videos, and then it's the same kind of command that I did. You just say, plus Peace News Now, here's a tip for $3 or whatever, and then you say plus change tip on the end, and it's just that easy.
Wow, this is so cool. I really dig this.
Yeah, and then, like, for me, what I did was Tom he had 99 cents in his wallet on change tip, so he sent out 9-cent tips to the first 9 people that tweeted him. So I got 9 people started with 9 cents. So I went in there and I had a wallet on my tablet that had like $35 in it that had been just sitting there, and I wanted to reformat my tablet, and I was like, well, I'm going to move that $35 anyway, so I transferred that into my change tip account. So I had $35 in there that I could donate to people, because $35 in that wallet didn't mean a lot to me anyway, but it was money that I had in there that I wanted to give away to people like yourself. And that was the purpose of it being in there, but being in my tablet, it wasn't getting used. But this way, it's so easy.
Remember, with the magic of Bitcoin, even the 9 cents that I gave out could be split into 9 1-cent tips, or even less. So and all it takes is a tip to get someone to create an account, hopefully. So once they create an account, maybe they'll put more money in, like Jamie said, tip more. Maybe they'll send that tip out in smaller amounts. Maybe they'll cash it out and buy something they need, or a taco or something. So it's a very cool service.
Right.
Changed it.
It runs off the main Bitcoin blockchain, so it doesn't get eaten up by the transfer fees of Bitcoin.
Yep. It's very cool. Changed it.
And we need to get Kate on sometime to talk to her. That she's with the ChangeTip company.
Well, I guess we've sung the praises of ChangeTip. Now we're going to be slightly critical. They do have what seems like a new public relations type program, and I'm not sure that I totally agree with it. I don't want to offend anyone, but we're going to go into a slightly offensive series here. ChangeTip is raising money for Warrior Ranch, and Warrior Ranch is a place for veterans of the Iraq and Afghanistan war to get help for their PTSD. I support them getting help for their PTSD. I think everyone should have proper medical care, and I think that, personally, I think that the Army should probably pay for them because they're the ones that damaged them in the first place. I'm not sure that ChangeTip or us should be involved. But if you get people to send tips to Warrior Ranch, you could win $100 from ChangeTip. But what I'd rather support is what Derek was talking about before the show, which is counter recruitment. The idea that we could stop people from joining the Army so they wouldn't have to get hurt overseas in wars, so they wouldn't become veterans that need post-traumatic stress care. So if you look for programs like Stop Recruiting Kids, which is a campaign on Facebook, and you can look for books like Army of None, Strategy to Counter Military Recruitment, 10 Excellent Reasons Not to Join the Military. Should we end military recruiting in high schools as a matter of child protection and public health? I think this is a pretty strong article. For
me, I was recruited and joined the military when I was a junior in high school. I signed up when I was 17 years old. I had to get my parents to co-sign so I could go to basic training during summer vacation between my junior and senior year. I went to Fort Benning, Georgia for Army basic training.
Did you know enough to sign up?
No, I didn't know that there were any other options besides infantry.
Had you been in were you in like an ROTC program at school? Were you trained before? No, okay, just straight.
No, I just thought of the Army and the military as, soldiers, foot soldiers, people that carried rifles and stuff, and that's what they recruited for. They didn't tell us about anything else. And this was in the 80s, before computers and all of that stuff. But, so I went in, I was Army infantry, and, and then I found out, oh, wow, there was all these other things that were available, but I was never even told that.
Well, and you seem like a very technical guy. I'm sure you could have worked in the radios or the communications type divisions. There's a lot of non-infantry army jobs.
After I was recruited, after I had joined, the Navy tried to recruit me to be a nuclear engineer on a submarine because they saw my test scores.
Yeah. It's tough, and there's not, and I mean, I understand the situation. There's not a lot of options for people coming out of high school. If you can't afford college, joining the military to get the college degree, to get the GI Bill, seems like a good deal. And what I think we should have is kind of a program to counter that. Maybe just a GI Bill that will pay you to not join the military. Some kind of, maybe George Soros or somebody could set up a fund. And for every military recruiter in a bright red flashy sports car, we could have an anti-military recruiter with a nice car as well. Derek, what do you think about military recruitment and change tip?
I'm disturbed by anyone offering more money to people who are paid killers. I don't want to incentivize that kind of a world. I want to live in a world of peace, where voluntary negotiations are the mode by which humans interact with one another. And I see war and armies and militaries as standing in the way of that future. And I've participated in counter-recruitment myself. I've handed out flyers at high schools. I've gotten banned from being on high school property in my town because of the literature that I handed out. But I think it's important to do anyway. There are soldiers who are standing in the high schools signing kids up to go die, and that's sad. It's a shame that they end up with PTSD, and I do want to help them. I think that's a tragedy.
And a lot of former soldiers come back from the war changed. They may have had different values going into the war, but they've seen horrible things that you and I could never understand, and they come back completely changed. So to those people, again, we're supporting you, but we also want to support a system where you wouldn't have to go join the army, see horrible things, maybe do horrible things, and then come home with the stress of living with that. There should be alternatives.
Right, and one thing, people got to realize, too, it's all right to change your opinion about something. Just because you were a soldier doesn't mean that you have to support being a soldier the rest of your life. I mean, there's guys like Adam Kokesh now who have come out and said, yeah, I was a Marine, I was in the war, but I don't support that anymore. And he's constantly getting flack for, oh yeah, that's BS because you were in it. You can't change your mind. And like myself, and it's like, well, I'm not faulting anybody that was deceived. I was deceived myself. It's all right to change your opinion on a subject.
Yeah, I think, Jamie, what a lot of people don't want to admit is that they were deceived, that they didn't have enough information. That's why I asked you at the beginning, did you have enough information to sign up and make an educated decision for yourself? That's the question that I ask young people when they're faced with recruiting efforts at their school. I hand out a flyer that says, do you know enough to sign up? And that should get them started thinking, well, maybe I don't know everything about what I'm signing up for. Because in a lot of cases, those recruiting people, they lie. They just flat out lie about the experiences that young people will have in the military. And I want them to have full information, with full knowledge of what they're getting into. So yeah, I think Bitcoin is important in this front because with Bitcoin, so wars are generally funded through taxation. And people have no control over whether or not, or very little control over what taxes are taken from them. For most people, taxes are just taken right from their paycheck. But with Bitcoin, it's a little bit trickier for the government or any third party to take your payment from you. And so wars, I speculate, would become a little more voluntary. In other words, the governments or whatever politicians want to wage war, they would have to actually convince people to send them money to fund the wars. It's not like they can print up a bunch of fiat and then put their tax cattle on the hook for the wars of yesteryear. This is not going to be the way that wars work in the future, and that's all thanks to technologies like Bitcoin.
Right, they'd have to physically, blatantly, outright enslave people and force them to work in mines and get resources rather than the kind of covert enslavement that's going on now with just tricking people into thinking that they're doing the right thing by paying their taxes and being patriotic and, ooh, rah, rah, USA, USA, we gotta, support the troops, and not realizing, well, it's the troops that are, yeah, I'm against the war, I'm against Obama, but I support the troops. Well, it's the troops that are fighting the war, not Obama.
We have to interrupt. Young Steve Jobs has just joined the conversation. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. I can't even remember what Steve Jobs used to say anymore.
Think different. And
Think
one
different.
more thing.
Yes. I'll do my one more thing later on.
One more thing.
It's good to see you. We're talking about how Bitcoin is both empowering warriors and disempowering politicians. So you're right on time.
Well, it's empowering peace, and it gives us a new the internet has given us a new domain in which we can interact and relate to one another that doesn't involve physical contact. So there's no opportunity for us to engage in any violence. We can still disagree. In fact, the internet is full of, tumultuous disagreement. But one distinguishing characteristic is no one beheads anyone, no one shoots anyone. There's just no opportunity for it in the first place.
Yeah, good point.
See, we were talking about ChangeTip, and I think a much better initiative for ChangeTip than the supporting veterans program that they have going on now, veterans of wars, of course, would be something like what we've suggested on the World Crypto Network Reddit, which is kind of a group of people that self-select themselves. So they're like the ChangeTip Avengers, who could go around from YouTube video to YouTube video, tipping everyone in the comments, tipping the creators of the video, tipping the people who make good comments, tipping the people who make bad comments, tipping everyone. And it's already started because at the World Crypto Network, you're in charge. So if you have an idea, you just go ahead and do it. So right here, our friend Ned Radnad went ahead and did it. He posted on here, tippers, start your change tippings, let's take over the comments. And this was a video called The Bitcoin Revolution with Max Kaiser, and it also featured Alex Jones. And as you know, Alex Jones has recently accepted Bitcoin, so this is a great time to talk to Alex Jones's audience and to say, hey, conspiracy theories, all that stuff, it's kind of negative, but we have a solution. We have something positive here. We have something outside the box. I know that Alex Jones initially thought that it was inside the box, that it was perhaps a controlled conspiracy. He rejected Bitcoin for a long time, but even Alex Jones can re-examine and change his mind, and he's changed his mind on Bitcoin. And if you look down here, you see right away the work of the ChangeTip Avengers. Dan Darden is out in front tipping these commenters, and as you can see, for every little comment where you say, tip someone a couple bucks, tip them 20 cents, a little change tip thing comes out, and we can see if we search, we just search for change tip here, the whole comment section is just lit up with change tip.
Wow.
And some of these people will accept it, some of these people won't, and it doesn't matter. Your change tips will come back to you in 7 days if they're not accepted, and this is the time to change tip people and just to send the money out there. So that's what I would suggest doing. So.
Wow, that is really cool news. I'm glad Alex Jones finally came around to accepting Bitcoin. It seems like, alternative media and Bitcoin go hand in hand. We need a way to fund our operations. Our operations are pretty cheap as it is, and people can send us money from anywhere in the world. So independent media is able to take off pretty easily, better than
wildfire. And it's absolutely essential, alternative media. I was watching.
Good suggestion. Good suggestion. It's better than simple propaganda for warriors. Let's help expand ChangeTip.
Exactly. More users for ChangeTip, more users for Bitcoin, actual money for content creators, and actual money for commenters as well. Commenting adds something to the conversation, and we don't have to reinvent YouTube to tip commenters. You can tip commenters right now. We don't have to make a whole new YouTuber and all these other systems that some other people are trying. But talking about Alex Jones and InfoWars brings us to kind of our next story that I'd like to talk about, which is agent provocateurs. And this is something that I was watching CNN and MSNBC, their coverage of the Ferguson situation last night, and there is a man in the crowd that the protesters clearly had picked out. He was not with them. He was not one of the protesters. And we can see some independent video right here. This man right here was not a part of the protesters. And you wonder, why would someone be there if they weren't a part of the protesters? Well, sometimes in history, if you go ahead and look it up, they send in men from their side to start shit on the other side. So you have a bunch of peaceful protesters who didn't want to fight the police. Then the police were attacked last night by a single water bottle. The single water bottle thrown was enough for the police to start tearing apart the protests, coming in with military tactics, upping the scale. And we see this man right here covering his face. In a minute here, he's going to be saying, I don't want to be on camera. Maybe he doesn't want to be on camera because he works for the security services. Perhaps he's been sent over to instigate for the other side. And the mainstream media saw this happening on their own video. They have video that looks pretty much just like this. And you could see, the only thing you don't see is the guy filming this who's wearing an InfoWars shirt, I believe. You could see him on the MSM. You could see them sending this guy back to the lines. And that's what happens to these provocateurs, is they have similar clothing as this photo from 2007 shows. They're wearing the exact same military boots, and they send them back to the lines, and they disappear, and we never hear from them again. And this is an important story that media, like independent media like us, can present on. And you can make up your own mind if there were provocateurs. But again, right here we have CNN saying, why not perhaps use water cannons? And I'm sure everyone with a historical mind can know right away it's this anchor on the left who says it. You see the shocked look of the other anchor who absolutely cannot believe this. And if we scroll down a little, fortunately, since Boing Boing is on the ball, here are American civil rights protesters being attacked with water cannons in 1963. Maybe even in St. Louis. I mean, this could be the same area. Look at that. Like, that's what you want? So it's very rough. Very rough out there.
That's how these people think, though. I mean, she's obviously out of touch with reality.
I'm not sure what it has to do about Bitcoin, but I do wish those people would stay home and be safe. I don't think there's anything to be gained by being out.
I think what it has to do with Bitcoin is what Bryce was saying the other day on our show, where he's like, we can now help them survive on the streets. We can send them money and help them buy milk and things, you know, to protect themselves against the tear gas and so on. And also, a lot of these guys that are doing these live streams aren't official journalists. These are just people that have good camera phones. I was watching one the other day on the Anonymous channel, and someone had just set up like a producer's newsroom of lots of different live streams. So it was like an editing. He was going backwards and forwards between people's live streams, and then on the right-hand side there was a troll box where people could come in and comment on what was going on. And yes, you had a lot of trolls, but you also had a lot of really interesting insight. People actually saying, if you tell this person to do this, he can, you know, he can fix his problem this way. People actually troubleshooting live, and then the person operating the camera was then feeding that information back to the people right there in front of them. That's what it has to do with it.
Yeah, that is brilliant. I hadn't considered. Most of the journalists there are just people with cell phones.
Additionally, there is a movement on Reddit to try to fund the people of Ferguson. I'm not sure how well it's taking off, but people are looking to buy them gas masks, milk to fight the tear gas, other type of protesting type support activity.
Stop! This is not a war. Go home. Stop fighting.
This is the point where we draw a line in the sand and we say militarized police is not acceptable in America.
Too late.
Well, this is our last. This is it. This is the last.
Too little, too late. Go home. You're defeated. It's occupied territory. You know.
I don't think they're defeated yet, though. I think that each night they keep it on the TV. Each night they keep the protest out there until this police officer is brought to justice.
Cycle of violence has to
been charged. Has the police officer been charged with any crime?
And he never will be, Thomas. You might never know the real guy's name. He'll never be charged with a crime. There's no justice. Just move on.
Not this time.
So Derek, hang on, Derek. So you're saying that people should stop protesting? Because,
yes, and I said that immediately. As soon as the Ferguson thing happened, I was like, everybody go home. Stop what you're doing. Collect your thoughts and do something actually productive. Burning down buildings, marching in the streets, not doing anything. And it's a waste.
What should they do?
I don't know, but not that. I really don't know. They should leave. They should take what they have and go somewhere safe. They should start building a community that's ready for a police occupation. I mean, I saw the writing on the wall years ago. Keene, this town got a Bearcat in 2011. There were protests out the door at City Hall. We had a fire marshal regulating the occupancy in our town hall meetings because people were like, no, we don't want a Bearcat, we don't want a tank, we don't want militarization of police. And that's what it looks like in a community where people are awake. So if you're not in a community like that, get the hell out.
But even there, you guys didn't win. You weren't able to stop the Bearcat, but now we have a real-world example live on the streets. If anyone wants to know what a police state's like, are they testing us? Did they roll it out? First day, large response. Second day, roll back the response. Third day, large response. Fourth day, bring out the dogs. They've had sonic cannons. They've had stun grenades. They've had tear gas. They've controlled the media. And look, the people keep coming out in the streets. Are they winning? Are they really winning? People keep coming back.
No.
Here's the
When
video.
the Nazis roll into Paris, you don't say, oh, now it's time to fight. You say, we're defeated, let's get the hell out, let's save our lives, and let's have grandchildren who can tell the story later.
Here's
French
the video of Obama in 2008 saying that we need a civilian police force that is equal the military.
Yeah, good luck with that. Let's see, we have a question. We can move on to the question. We've got a hello from Spain, and he says, what about the Ethereum? Last time I read they spent a lot of Bitcoins last week, and that was a concern for a lot of people. Has Ethereum been spending their money? Is that causing the price to go down?
Yeah, what are they spending their money on?
No, that it was a debt. They had $1.8 million of debt for a bunch of free riders that jumped onto the bandwagon very early on. I think they've now realized that mistake, and I know that the developers there, Gavin and Jeff, and also Stefan, who's been working very hard at keeping Ethereum on the straight and narrow, because Vitalik, as smart as he is not a business guy. And he's not a people person. He's a great public speaker. I've listened to him. I think his communication style is brilliant. I love his mathematical mind. I love the way he talks in numbers and code. But he's never run a business before, and he's only like 19, 20 years old. So I think what needs to happen now is that the people that are best at actually delivering it need to do it. But they have $1.8 million of debt hanging over them for offices in Switzerland, and they've got one in Toronto, I think, and another one in London. So they've got all these unnecessary outgoings, and that's why. But that's not the reason the Bitcoin price is going down, because we've had a lot more than, you know, the amount that they were releasing being sold off. This was because of margin calls on some of the leveraged trading that we talked about earlier on my show, where people were borrowing money in order to trade, and then when the price, as the price was going down, the exchanges automatically sell your coins, even if you're not online, even if you're in bed and you're asleep. They sell the coins because that isn't your money, and that's something called a margin call, where it automatically sells your coins for you because it doesn't think you're going to be able to repay the debt to the exchange, and that's the most likely cause for the price drop.
$1.8 million sounds like a lot of debt to me.
Yep.
For offices? Like,
well, just there's a whole host of things. It was like legal fees for drafting up all of the small print, because when you were buying into the pre-sale, of course, they had to pay for two things. They had to pay for the marketing communications, and they had to pay for the legal communications. Marketing and law go like that. They pull in opposite ends of the spectrum. Marketers want to increase sales. Lawyers want to decrease liabilities. However, marketers were saying, like, this is the next Android, this is going to be the next big thing, i.e. you should buy now so you can sell it for more later on. But then the lawyers were like, well, you can't really say that. So before you pay, just so you're aware, this is not an IPO, it's not an investment, you're doing it at your own risk, this is a pre-sale, we don't guarantee to sell you anything. And so all the marketing that was done was pretty much, you know, waved away with legalese. But that's just so they can cover their ass. That was like, you know, $1 million in CYA, cover your ass material, but only so they could get away with selling it in the first place.
Okay, well, that makes a lot of sense. I doubted that it was just Ethereum, like, oh, we're spending a lot of money, and then all of Bitcoin dropped.
That wasn't the reason why it was made at price.
I'm skeptical. So, okay, good. Thanks, Chris. Good answer. What else about Ethereum? Did that answer the guy's question?
I think that answered the question. We have another question from Brandon. Brandon writes, there's a big difference between protesting and rioting. Had no one ever protested, it wouldn't be on the news and wouldn't have revealed just how bad the police state is. Please watch Stefan Molyneux's video on Ferguson. I haven't seen that yet, but that does sound interesting.
And don't forget Dr. King. The riots are the communication of the unheard. It's the voice of the unheard. And the fact is, where are these people supposed to go? Like, I totally empathize with what you're saying, Derek, but like, if you're in Gaza right now, you can't even move. You can't go anywhere. You're just trapped. And who will have them? And who will have these people when they move?
It's very sad, but all it says to me is that there's a lot of people who lack foresight.
It's not just that they're born into these societies. They don't have any money. It takes a lot of money to move. Being a refugee is lousy. I mean, I watched a video recently of the Kurdish refugees from the situation that's going on in northern Iraq and the earlier refugee situation in 1990. They have the clothes on their backs. They have small packs. They have no water. They have no food. They're in terrible territory.
Doesn't do anyone any favors to play the victim card. People at some point need to take personal responsibility for what's happening in their world, in their lives, in their communities, and take personal responsibility for it. Only then will things finally start to turn around. Because when people just want to say, "Oh, it's where I was born. It's my community. I never had a chance." No, fuck that. You had a chance. Wake up. The writing's been on the wall for years, for decades. People have been talking about the militarization of the police for God knows how long. This is not a surprise. So if people want to pretend like, oh, I never could have seen this coming, well, I'm sorry. I have empathy for people who are suffering right now. I really do. But what the right thing to do is to stay calm, be polite, and collect your thoughts and work for something productive. Not marching out in the streets and shouting. All you're getting is rubber bullets in your face. That's not helping anybody.
All they're getting is on the news every night for their cause, which continues.
That's not true. It's helping the military-industrial complex that sells those rubber bullets. That's big business that they were nearly going to lose when the Iraq War ended. Remember, it was mission accomplished. Remember when we got up on that big vessel and it was like, yeah, we did it. And the military companies that manufacture these weapons were worried that they were going to lose their profits. And now the CIA is now sending out these, what do you call these big APC vehicles that are anti-landmine? It's like MRP or some MPR or one of those things. Jamie will know. You're muted, Jamie.
MRAPs or
MRAPs, there you go.
Mine-resistant armored personnel carriers.
Right. And you know what shakes you to your very core is when the other day I was on the forums, I was looking up these MRAP things and like how the only way to defend yourself against one of these in a community, a lot of these like American sort of true, I would say like they're real Americans in the sense they believe in the Constitution, but they don't necessarily believe in all the kind of flag waving stuff. And they were talking about how the best way to defend yourself is to put paintballs on the windscreens and then put fires underneath them, because eventually they have to get out, right? If they can't see, and now they're cooking slowly inside of these MRAPs. And it was like really interesting kind of advice, but these are modern day forums. But what shakes you to your core is that human beings are thinking up ways creatively with their imaginations of hurting other human beings. That's what rips you apart inside. All of these weapons that are designed to like change shape midair into these like, you know, body piercing, armor piercing kind of, projectiles. That's come from someone's mind, right? Someone's actually sat down and thought about this, and that's what kind of makes me kind of wretch, is like, who's coming up with these ideas of torturing people in the first place?
That's one thing humans have always been good at, figuring out different ways to kill each other, and it's one thing that I don't think is ever going to stop. Things like, I mean, mental illness and depression are part of it. I mean, I've had spells where I just, some days I want to just forget about anarchism and peace and say the hell with it all and be a nihilist. And, you just get hopeless some days, and you get angry and you want to hurt something, and it's hard to get through those things. And there's other people that are just sadistic bastards.
Well, I hope that you don't feel hopeless today, Jamie. There's a lot that is going right in the world, and though the news seems to be swamped with riots and SWAT gear, that's not what's going on in most of the world. Most of the world is at peace, and hopefully you, where you are at peace, and you're at peace with your friends, your family, your neighbors, and your community. And that's, I think, how peace and community should spread.
Well, I have good friends on this show right here.
Yeah.
And it's hard to fall into nihilism now that we have Bitcoin. Before we had Bitcoin, before we had a solution to this problem, I totally agree with you. Nihilism is kind of the answer, feeling nothing, letting it roll over you. I mean, I watched the Iraq War, the Afghanistan War in horror. I remember when Colin Powell threatened America with a vial of anthrax at the United Nations, and I said to myself, that's a prop. He's a public speaker using a very good prop. There's no way they'd actually let him have anthrax on the floor. That's a little vial of water. And he's threatening everyone in the world with this vial of water. And it echoed Kennedy's speech with the Cuban Missile Crisis, except that Kennedy didn't have a prop. He had pictures of the missiles in Cuba. And when you looked them up on the satellite or when you drove there in a boat, the missiles were actually there. The things that Colin Powell talked about to start this war and to start all of these wars in general, if you look at the inciting event, is nonsense. He talked about mobile chemical warfare weapons laboratories on trains. He didn't have pictures of them. We have satellites. Kennedy didn't have satellites. He had people flying over in airplanes, and he had pictures. They didn't have pictures. It was fake. It's been fake. The people who started it are responsible for everything that's happened since, including the Civil War, which was predicted at the time and now is sadly happening to the people of Iraq, the people of Kurdistan, the ISIS army, the ISIL, whatever's happening on. It's all from this one inciting event. It's all from the people who started it. All of the deaths, all of the war crimes that they committed and asked other people to commit in their name, all go back to them. So we need to be holding them accountable. President Obama was incredibly wrong when he said we should let the past stay in the past. That was an incredibly ridiculous statement, and he's, of course, followed it up with, we tortured some folks. So.
And we have to remember the past so we don't make those same mistakes, I think. And I've been incredibly encouraged by the people in Bitcoin that I have met through because of Bitcoin and met through like the World Crypto Network and this community, because there are so many very, very extremely intelligent young people. I was pretty hopeless about the future. I thought all these young people that were going to college and stuff were just completely brain dead. But I see these young people that are 18, 20 years old now that are just amazingly smart.
Yeah, but you're right, Jamie. The ones who are going to school are brain dead.
Yeah.
Ones who are dropping out are just fine.
They still have the internet. Anyone can look at the internet. They can research as much as they want. They can go down the rabbit hole as long as they'd like to go down it. And all the information is there. It's getting refined. It's getting better. You saw that video I showed of InfoWars last night at the protest. That's a 0-day, 24-hour video. We didn't have that 5 years ago. This is very hip. Things are getting cool on the internet.
Yeah, and it's worth repeating my point about earlier, is Chris was making the point about these people are using their imaginations to dream up weapons of war to use against their brothers and sisters. With Bitcoin and with all cryptocurrencies, you have to opt in. You have to you would have to send the money and be like, oh yeah, so a bomber, yeah, all right, I'll send my money to that. Or like, oh yeah, a tank, okay, I like that, I'm going to send money to that. And sure, theoretically, it could happen that we would have the same type of militarization that we have today, but I don't think it's very likely. I think people find these weapons of war distasteful and would not purchase them if it were up to them.
And there are psychopaths out there that would want their name on a bomber, or they'd want to sign the bomb, put a message on it. But we're going to find out those people, and we're not going to let them stand by the fire. And the internet is going to help us do that.
Could you imagine Obama going on TV and saying, okay, we need to crowdfund this new bombing campaign for Iraq. And if we get extra money, we'll bomb Syria too.
Yeah,
Now, all you got to do is this QR code on the TV screen, get out your iPhone and send us your Bitcoin so we can bomb the shit out of these refugees.
Oh, where's my phone? I got to get my phone.
Oh, yeah. I got to send some money to that war. Yeah, let me get some on Syria. That sounds good.
Well, this is the assassination market that Nick, aka PyRebel, loves to talk about. You know, that eventually it would be a risky business becoming a politician because you'd end up having assassination attempts on you, and people would be crowdfunding these things.
Uh-oh.
But it's just ridiculous to think that people would. I mean, he might get a few people to send him money for that, but it would really expose how frickin' nasty of a bastard he is.
It would. We've got a lot of questions. We're talking about some exciting issues here. Brandon says that protesting is just taking responsibility and trying to change things. Just going home to wait it out is waiting for someone else to fix it. How can they make their town better by staying at home? And Derek, you protest a lot around your home and in your community, so I'm surprised to see you taking this anti-protest tack.
I never protest. I think protesting is stupid.
You shut down the drunk checkpoints. You're mad because they won't let you chalk in the center square. These all seem like protests to me.
No, there's a difference. When people do activism with intention, with a goal that seeks some final purpose, that's not protesting. But to me, protesting is going out in the street, chanting and holding signs, and that accomplishes nothing. And that's what people are told to do. That's what we're instructed. That's what the man wants you to do. Go waste your energy. Go spin your wheels. Go shout at the air around you. See if anything changes. Fuck no. What people need to do is disobey. You know what would really change things? If people stopped paying the taxes that fund these militarizations. If people stopped paying the taxes that fund these wars of aggression overseas, that fund the wars of aggression at home, that fund the drug wars against peaceful people, that's what would change things. People need to change the way they live and stop pointing the blame elsewhere and start pointing it right back at you. Change yourself first.
Yeah, if they wouldn't have funded those MRAPs and all that police gear and all those policemen's paychecks, it wouldn't have been there.
It's taxpayers' money. That's their own money that's being used to buy this equipment. Those policemen aren't going to come to work just for the meanness of their hearts, most likely. If they're not getting a paycheck, they're probably going to reconsider whether they want to go out there and get bottles and crap thrown at them.
Here's another thing that's not protesting that's very effective. Taking pictures of the police and posting them online with identities and phone numbers and addresses. Most police are public officials. Their information can be publicly available. I've done this when I was arrested, brutally beaten by a police officer in my town. Some members of my community went right to his door and sang peaceful songs right outside. And he didn't like that, not one bit. We had cameras, we had candles, and that's a totally peaceful act, and he hated it. And is he, you know, it has an impact. You know, if I were to just write to the chief of police and say, he was mean to me, and I want a lawsuit, and I'm upset, you know, that's using the system. Let's forget about the system and think creatively about some other solutions that we could do besides marching around and getting shot with rubber bullets.
And that's what's really distinguished this Ferguson event is the social media outpouring that it's created. It's almost like the Arab Springs for America. And now you've got governments like the Egyptians coming out and advising America on how to like police its population in almost like a tongue-in-cheek way. Also Iran's leader came out and did some more of that kind of publicity stunt. And it's because of all these cameras. It's because of all these people that are turning up, and that's why they're throwing the tear gas at the journalists. That's why they're actually shooting the journalists and arresting the journalists. It's because they don't want to be shot by the cameras.
That's right. You Yeah, you were talking about how social media is changing things where people can have their news instantly. It occurs to me that there's Operation Ferguson that I don't know who is claiming to have started it. It's apparently some anonymous operation,
Yeah.
but that's one of the best things that people could be doing, in my opinion. And when I say stay home, go in front of your computer and get active. I'm not saying like go twiddle your thumbs. I'm saying instead of standing out in the street and using up rubber bullets and getting Band-Aids, why don't you get behind a keyboard and spread memes, put these officers' faces all over the news. What they don't want is to be seen as individuals. They don't want to be held accountable for their individual actions. So-and-so shot so-and-so. We need to have those reports on the record, and it's only alternative media who's going to do that. You know that mainstream media isn't going to treat police like individuals. They get their news reports from the police.
And these policemen will not be held accountable. They're not wearing badges or name tags, as you can see from this photo. So during the riot,
recognition. Facebook face recognition. Upload these pictures to Facebook, and it will automatically recognize them, and it will invite them to comment on their own pictures.
That's a good idea. Use Facebook's tools against them. So someone should try that. See if these photos show up. We've also got a couple more comments. Dan Gould supports Derek. He says, "Right on, Derek. I agree that protesting is childish." And he also wants to get a QR code to send Derek some Bitcoin. And he's put his email in there.
It's on the screen now.
It's actually on the screen now. You can also donate to Derek at peacenewsnow.com/donate.
Yeah.
People say that the lower windows are blocking the QR code, so this might not be working. But we're giving it a shot, and we'll try to alter this thing or perhaps report it to this Hangout Magic website that they need to raise the...
We should just put our QR codes like here or something.
It looks like that's where they put their name, because I just saw an overlay now on your screen that says Hangout Magic, so there's nothing...
Yeah,
you never
we
get
can
anything
move
for free.
No, we can move them wherever we want, Tom.
Yeah, it's just an image. We'll just edit the image for later. But it's just something we're trying out from Hangout Magic, so very cool. We also had a question that looks like it got deleted about the FEMA trains, and I just wanted to mention the possibility of the FEMA trains, that our government cares so much about us that they have trains and perhaps even underground shelters to store their valuable people in case there's some kind of a large attack. So yes, unlike Spain, the American government really does care about its people and is planning for all kinds of contingencies that we're completely unaware of.
Can I be persnickety with you about your language, Thomas?
What did I say? I said some nice things.
You said our government, and you can speak for yourself, but I don't have a government.
Well, it's not England, so it's not
I thought the government was us, Derek. That's what Barack Obama said the other day. He said the government is us. It's all of us. We're all in this together, Derek. Don't you know that?
Yeah, I don't buy it.
By the way, you can, if you're controlling the camera, if you just click on your own window, the whole window will be taken up, and it won't obscure your QR code, so that guy can comment on you.
Oh, okay, good. Well, I've clicked on my own screen now, so hopefully this guy.
Yeah, and you can just pause that.
Send me an address. Oh, actually, Dan says he doesn't have a QR code reader, so the best place to go if you're looking to do anything with me is derekj.me. There's a place where you can send some Bitcoin. And it's got the full QR code and Bitcoin address. So thank you very much, Dan. I appreciate that, and anyone else who wants to donate.
Right here. It's peacenewsnow.com.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I actually recently redid the QR code so that it's a bit vanity address. It starts out 1 piece 1, so it's all caps. It took me like 3 days to get that address, but finally
You have to run a program or something? What'd you do, Derek?
Yeah, I run BitVanity. It's a program where you can come up with your own Bitcoin address, or like the first couple letters of it, first prefix. And the more letters you add, and the more like case sensitive it is, the longer it's going to take to come up with all of the possibilities, and it just keeps generating addresses and seeing like, does this fit? Does this fit? Does this fit? Does this fit? Eventually it hits. So it took, I think, 3.5 days to get that one.
You can do that on bitaddress.org.
Yeah, I heard you can do that on bitaddress.org, but I had a little more difficulty with it. I liked BitVanity; it worked for me. Plus, it has a cute icon of a Barbie doll.
I'll have to give that a try. It looks cool.
Yeah, I appreciate the plug. Thank you. And yeah, Bitcoin will stop wars from happening because people won't want to pay for them. That's the thing. Like people who say, like, well, yeah, I support the war in Afghanistan or Iraq, and they're like, well, I want my money to go towards it. They're not looking at an actual bill. Like if they had to be confronted with a piece of paper that says, Derek Freeman, you owe $500,000 for the war in Iraq, I would be like, well, maybe I can find it in my heart to just forgive these people and let's throw that bill out. I think it wouldn't get funded. And then when I see my bill is $500,000, I toss that out. The next bill for the next guy gets more expensive by that increment, right? So like the next guy has to pay $1 million if he wants to fund this war. If he says, hey, it's not worth $1 million, maybe it would be worth $50, but not $1 million. You know, then he throws that bill out. The next guy gets a $2 million bill. It's ridiculous. So these wars would never get funded if it were up to Bitcoin. Not in my opinion.
Like my property tax bill comes to me, and it's itemized to a point where it says, you know, here's $700 you have to pay for the school. It's like, I don't have kids, but I can't opt out of paying for the school.
Sure you can.
Well, I can, but I'll go to jail, or they'll kill me.
I hope you move to a community of people who will support you.
Interesting.
Are you already in New Hampshire?
No, I'm in Wisconsin.
That's
Okay.
not that far away.
No.
No, it's only that far on the map.
Yeah.
Well,
That's pretty far, Chris.
I wouldn't want to walk it. But it's like a bit over to the right.
I would
Not
do this if I didn't mention that. Oh yeah. You're right over here, Jamie. So you just jump on over and hang out with us. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention that in all this talk about Bitcoin and ending wars and future of peace, that there is a community of people here in New Hampshire, where I'm broadcasting from in Keene, but all throughout New Hampshire, where people are moving to live free and support one another. Some of that involves not paying taxes. Like right now I'm in a house where there have been no taxes paid, and that's very public. They announced that it's not because they don't support education. In fact, they made a donation to a private charity. But this is one way that we can take personal responsibility for our impact in the world, is to say, I'm not going to support this, I am going to support that. And so if you want to be a part of that community that's developing here in the Shire, I urge you to look up freestateproject.org. There is a community of people who are using Bitcoin. New Hampshire is one of the largest Bitcoin communities in the world. We have regular meetups in like about 40 or 50 people just in a city of 100,000. So I think it's a pretty good community. One of the first to develop a Bitcoin ATM, Lamasu Bitcoin, was created here through members of the Free State Project. The house in which I live has a skyhook machine here, which anyone is free to use from the public. So it's very different here. If you're a Bitcoin lover, you won't find a better place than New Hampshire. It sounds strange. I wouldn't have believed it years ago, but New York City just got its first Bitcoin ATM. New Hampshire's got like 20. So I think it's worth mentioning. If you love freedom and you love Bitcoin, check out New Hampshire.
Yeah, I want to go and check out Anarchapulco with Jeff Berwick down there. He's starting some stuff up.
Jamie mentioned how he gets an itemized list from his property tax bill. Maybe if they had an itemized list for the war, how many villages burned down, how many people killed, maybe we could get behind it then if we just had more information. We also have more information from the
infographics. We should be sent infographics on the number of people we've killed.
I'd like to.
Yeah, because that would break it down better for me, more
I want
thoughtful.
to see the infographic for the pallets of money that went missing.
Your taxes are going to this pallet, which is one of 9 that were lost. Thank you for supporting our Losing Pallets of Money program. They did that on McLaughlin even. They showed the amount of money lost. They had this huge, goes like $9 billion lost. And I was just like, what? What? Lost?
I want to know I want the daisy cutter infographic. That'll be really cool. And also, weren't the American military dropping aid and bombs in the same color thing, so that when the kids went up to these bombs, they thought it was food because it was in like this yellow kind of case, but actually it was a bomb. It's like, whoa, not the right people to be dropping aid.
We do have an update from the comments on the FEMA trains. So the FEMA trains are ready. As you can see, we've got these train cars with looks like no windows. And apparently, if you skip ahead in the videos, we could see that the rail chain tie-down assemblies have been ordered. And that, as with all good government contracts, they're trying to get the cheapest price on leg irons. So they're buying a lot of leg irons to keep us safe on the FEMA trains. There's another FEMA train right there. And this is just to support infrastructure. So in case something happens in America, they'll have all these trains ready for us to go on so that we can be safe.
An injustice somewhere is an injustice everywhere, and the problem is that it's not always possible for people to leave, especially when the psychopaths need us. They need us to be docile. So wherever we go, they're going to follow us, because really it's just a mindset, and it's an activity, and it's a way of life, a vocational lifestyle, living like a psychopath, that its power actually comes from its victims' unwillingness to prevent it in the first place. It's from the apathy and the sort of unthinking consent that everybody gives them, and they just let them get away with this stuff. But we are shining a light, and that light is the best disinfectant, and it's happening right here, right now, because we're all talking about it.
Yeah, not only talk on it, but act on it. You make a great point, Chris, that the government and people like them, sociopaths, want to continue to take advantage of people, and they'll use violence to coerce them to act a certain way. Well, at some point, you have to make it not worth it for them. So, like, they're going to send you threat letters, or they're going to offer some sort of violence towards you, but you have to make it difficult for them to extract your money and your obedience. So using things like encryption, or even using Bitcoin to protect your wealth from a bank account that could be frozen or seized, makes it more difficult for you to be controlled. So if you're a cattle and then you start bucking around, you're a lot more trouble than you're worth, and your owner, your farmer, might just say, okay, fuck it with that cattle. We don't need that one. let him get away. Let the rest of them. We'll just keep these. So be the disobedient cattle, and these people will finally lose their farm.
And hope they don't put you down.
And hope they don't bring it on. What do you mean by that?
Put you down.
Oh, put you down. Yeah. Well, by that, I wouldn't never recommend. All right. So caveat here. When I'm saying be disobedient, that's really stupid if you have no community. If you're totally alone, if you're in a place where you're not going to get any support for being disobedient, that's suicide, clearly. So, first be somewhere where you know you're going to get support, have a plan, and then be disobedient. Like, don't be stupid about it. Again, freestateproject.org is a nice place to consider.
Let's see, we've got a couple more comments, so let's just keep working through this. Dustin writes, to the majority of the country, the militarization of the police is a surprise, and they have no idea how to respond. Because, yes, Derek, you and I have been talking about this. People like us have been talking about this. We're plenty mad about the militarization of the police, but most people don't see it, so they don't know. So when something like this happens and all the cops roll up looking like SWAT team and military, and all the military roll up and they stand right next to each other. They have to wear trooper or police on their shirt so that we can tell the difference between, because their gear is the same. Their gear is all the same, so they have to put the words on their screen, just like Snow Crash, where the Mafia or the Feds or KFC, whichever franchise you were a part of, you'd wear that on your shirt. So this is the same exact thing. And even the Mafia's windbreakers, they had a button they could push that would turn that neon glow off, so they would just look black. So the future is right here in Snow Crash.
So, okay, well, to that I say not everyone is going to be saved. In war, not everyone makes it. And I don't mean that to be funny or sad. I mean, that's just the reality. There's arbitrage, or not arbitrage, what's it called, where Um, a, when a doctor goes through a hospital,
Triage.
triage is exactly the term I'm looking for. Thank you. There are some people who are just beyond saving.
Yeah,
They're
but I would rather be killed by the forces of nature than by another human being. That is completely unnecessary when one human being subjects another human being to violence. Nature is plenty violent enough. We don't need to be doing it to one another.
Well, I agree. I
Treat.
don't hear anyone saying that.
No, no, maybe, okay, so, sorry, I wasn't meaning it to be a riposte, but I suppose what I was thinking was that at the moment, until I came across your show, Derek, I didn't even know there was a solution to a lot of this stuff. And so I started looking at your videos about the peaceful, when you were committing these victimless crimes and stuff. I had no idea someone was already doing this, right? Because I wasn't that active when I first came across your videos. I mean, I was doing stuff with Feathercoin and things, but I wasn't like as active as I am now. But partly I'm active as I am now because I saw what you were doing. I was like, oh shit, there is a way that you can do this. Someone has thought about this. It's just it hadn't been given the airtime. It wasn't being presented to me on the BBC or CNN or any of these things. No one says we've got a choice. We can go to war, or we can talk about it, or we've got these other solutions. They always just say we're going to war, and it's like a fait accompli. You've got no alternative. And so we just assume that that's it, and there's no control, when actually there is plenty of other alternatives.
That's right. Freedom starts with a no.
Yeah, I've heard that from friends too, where, you know, I've proposed the theory of not having a government. And, you know, that's just such a wild idea that people have been like, whoa, I never even considered that option. You know, I've heard this limited government, big government, right government, left government. But yeah, you know what? When me and my buddies go hunting for the weekend, we don't have a elect who's going to be in charge and all of that. We don't have a government. We don't need these people in Washington or these people at the town hall. We don't need a government. That's the last thing we need.
That's right. They need you. They need you to keep paying them, to keep obeying them. Well, with Bitcoin, you really don't have to.
So,
All right,
yeah, I think we bring these new ideas to people, and so I don't think it's necessarily that these people are just forgotten causes because they're just seeing these things now. I think what we're doing is giving them more things to think about and more options that they just may not have thought of before.
You're right, Jamie. And you know, Chris, you make an excellent point about how this stuff hadn't been given airtime. You'd never really considered some of the ways that people are free to disobey. And that's so encouraging to me because, you know, this is the time where people are hearing that. It's now. Because there's already a Bitcoin community, there's a group of people who is fit and ready to just boom, like disobey en masse. Like that could really finally happen because people will be able to have money that they can use outside of government permission. It used to be you needed to have the government money to operate, to live, to buy the things you need to feed yourself and to travel. But you can get a passport with Bitcoin. You can get food with Bitcoin. You can get plane tickets with Bitcoin. So what do you need government money for?
And we showed with bringing Chris over from England to the United States, we can move money very quickly, crowdsource or crowdfund, and funnel money to another part of the world extremely quickly and mobilize.
It's like electrons. Did you know that when electrons get fired at a plate, some of them go through the plate by borrowing energy from the future? Now, it's not strictly true because the only reason we see it that way is because we're stuck in a timeline and we think of past and future and we think of this kind of linear progression. But it's basically a way of communicating energy across distance. If I get paid to dig up that road and I get paid in money as compensation, I can, in a way, move that that effort that I expended across the world with Bitcoin by communicating it over the internet to Derek, so that Derek can then fly over here and meet me or something, you know. So it's really you're just communicating movement around the world, and it's a form of speech. You know, money is a speech act, and you're now able to communicate in ways that you weren't able to before.
Brilliant. Hey, what's our next question or story, Thomas?
Let's see. The next question is Brandon says, and going back to Ferguson, he says, pauses. He says, look at how much the students at Kent State who got shot in 1970 changed things. The next few days, 1 million college students protested around the Vietnam War. People are still talking about Kent State to this day, and I think that's what the protesters have in mind with the unfortunate death and perhaps even murder of Michael Brown. Is that if they can get out into the streets and they can say this is not acceptable, even if you're a police officer, you can't shoot someone dead in the street for apparently no reason, and that there should be a trial, he should be brought to justice, he should be charged with murder. It seems that he murdered Michael Brown in the middle of the street with his police weapon. And again, if the police, as in England, they don't have guns, they can't shoot anyone, they have little clubs, and they have radios. And we could outfit our police with clubs and radios. We could change this thing around.
And that's largely a cultural issue, though. We've never had a culture of guns in this country. I think in America it's too late. I mean, having spent time at Porkfest and been around people with guns, at no point did I feel like I was under threat. For you, it's a question of how do you go from one cultural position to another. For us to now institute guns in this country would be a major thing, because the criminals will get the guns first, and then the police. Obviously, the police will get them.
The criminals already have them.
Well, no, they don't. Most of the criminals in the UK have knives, so we have quite a big knife culture, right? And there are certain parts of London you probably wouldn't want to walk around in it at night with, because you're likely to get stabbed. It's almost like our criminals want to look you in the eye when they kill you. But then you have other countries and other cultures with guns where they don't necessarily want to get close to you when they murder you, so they use this distance projectile weapon. I don't know. I'm kind of reading into it a little bit, but I think to take America from a gun, a country that has guns to a country that doesn't have guns is naive and impractical. It's just not going to work, because a lot of the people that have the guns will just keep them in private. It'll be like prohibition.
I mean, I hate to support tasers, but tasers are an alternative. I don't like tasers, but if they got rid of the guns, I suppose I would be more in favor of the tasers.
Did you hear about that 8-year-old girl that was tasered? She was a Native American girl that she was 8 years old. Let me just pull it up. And a lot of this just has to do with good policing and not being an arsehole, right? There was no way that this was necessary. So this girl was tasered by these 4 police officers. One of them was a highly trained, negotiations expert and stuff.
Excuse me,
and
Chris.
it's like, well,
I have to interrupt you and say, don't blame the dog for biting. Blame the person who called the dog. This girl was being watched by a nanny who thought it was the right thing to do to call the police when this girl acted out. So she called the murderous gang. The nanny is responsible, not I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a good point. You're making it. I'm laughing because you're making a good point. I hadn't really thought about it, but for me, it's like I'm reading this story and I'm thinking, well, why doesn't one of you distract her? And then, because she was holding a knife, right, and she was threatening, I think, to hurt herself, and it's like, why doesn't one of you just distract you? You're 4 grown men. She's 70 pounds and 8 years old. Like, you don't need to tase her. But I think it's because the rule book tells them to. That's the protocol, right? That's what you're meant to do if and when this happens. But there's no kind of thoughtfulness. There's no, common sense.
No, it's not even a rule book. You're right. There's no thoughtfulness, no common sense. All they're doing is acting out on their childhood abuses. These are just abused children who grew up to become adults and now they're acting out on it. There's no thought process of how am I helping or am I following the rules of my department. None of that even factors into the equation. It's I must dominate and control because that is all I know. And I blame the nanny for calling at all. Murders, you think, oh, if this 8-year-old is acting up, I could call the parents, I could offer some sort of negotiation with her, we could practice deep breathing. No, I think I'm going to call a gang that's known to murder people. I mean, that is the wrong solution, and she should have known better. I think it is people who are outraged about this story need to think twice next time before they call the police.
I'm just glad that the little girl survived. A lot of these tasing stories of people who have heart attacks because of the taser, or they're tasered multiple times from different directions or repeatedly. And yes, Chris, I totally agree with what you say. It's a shortcut to talking. The police don't have to talk anyone down anymore. Now they can just shoot them with their taser. And most of the time that works out, but sometimes people die, like I said. But with the gun, they die most of the time unless you take them to the hospital. But if you shoot them 6 times, including twice in the head, it's hardly a non-lethal response, as we've seen from the police.
And I have some breaking news, and I wanted to add this into the conversation, which is that it turns out that this picture, if you remember this, was been circulating, apparently isn't even of Mike Brown. And so this picture was circulating, and someone sent this to me as a way of saying, well, you know, don't get too defensive about what happened. You know, he wasn't an angel, and this was like the tarnishing of the victim. And I want to talk about summary justice and the way that you're getting justice by media now. So you're getting all these people. Last night we had this big kind of American patriot movement trying to hijack the Ferguson hashtag, trying to say, look, the police are doing the right thing. They're just doing their jobs. They're here to protect us. Stop having to go at them. And they were doing their own news cycle. They started releasing breaking news, in quotes. There was breaking news that the witness had now changed his story. But all you had as a source, people were retweeting it, but all you had as a source was a Facebook link. It was a Facebook post by an organization similar to World Crypto Network. They're calling themselves the Vipers, and they were an independent news channel on Facebook just saying, yeah, we've got it from a source that apparently he changed his story. And people were tweeting this out as if it were true. And that's in philosophy, we call that leveling or leveling down. Leveling down is when you masquerade a piece of information as if it's fact and as if you've always known it, when actually your source is pretty weak. And then that way people just pass it off as truth, and then it becomes the new truth. So we've got to be careful. Like every time I get a piece of information, I have to do like 10, 20 minutes of research to fact check it first before I'll even consider tweeting it.
And this story's been a masterpiece of narrative creation from the beginning. The police released that video of an unknown man robbing the convenience store. They said the next day, that man was not Michael Brown. Well, why'd you release the video? Oh, because the media asked us for it. Well, the media asked you for it because they thought it was Michael Brown. If you knew it wasn't Michael Brown and you released the video, you're destroying his reputation. That's character assassination by the police. And now we see this other photo. And then I watched Fox News for about 5 minutes yesterday, and I got the perfect story. They have a quote from a radio call-in show. And as I'm sure you all know, you don't have to be under oath to go on a radio call-in show. You don't even have to give your real name. So this woman, I think it was Tracy or something like that, Josie's given her story that she's best friends with the girlfriend of the police officer. So we're already like 3 steps away, even if you're going to believe this garbage. And then she then recites this counter narrative where there was a struggle for the gun, which is all fair and well if we didn't have 3 independent autopsies showing no powder wounds. And I know if you're not familiar with guns, you shoot a gun at close range, person gets powder burns on them or on their clothing. If you shoot a gun from far away, as seems to be the case in this situation, there are no powder burns. So the story that there was a struggle for the gun is ridiculous. It's being repeated by Fox News, who said afterwards, they're like, afterwards, we don't have a source for this. That was after they transcribed every word that this Josie said on a radio show, and they put it on screen, and they showed screen after screen. Every word this person is saying is important. We've transcribed every word, and that's a technique to make you believe this bullshit. And obviously people are believing it and regurgitating it, and the echo chamber is working. Like, the system is working. Propaganda works. So
I have some counter propaganda because I'm going to have to go soon, so I want to sign off with this breaking story, which was reported yesterday on freekeen.com. I believe they had the scoop. Exclusive. Free Stater alleged to be Silk Road admin Inigo. Did any of you hear about this?
Nope.
Then let me break this story for you. Ian Freeman writes at freekeen.com, Free State Project participant Andrew Michael Jones of Norfolk, Virginia, was arrested in December of 2013 with others accused of being the operators of the Silk Road Underground Marketplace. Andrew is alleged to be the longtime administrator Inigo. Thus far, almost all of the news headlines about the Silk Road arrests have gone to Ross Ulbricht, who is accused of being the infamous site's creator and head admin, Dread Pirate Roberts. Andrew is accused of similar allegations as Ross: conspiracy to commit money laundering, narcotics trafficking, and hacking, and is facing spending the rest of his life in federal prison. While Ross Ulbricht was not offered bail, Andrew was able to get out on $1 million bail, thanks to his parents, who didn't have anything close to that amount of money, so they put up their house and retirement incomes to secure a bond. His bail conditions include 24/7 house arrest at his parents' house and being strictly forbidden from using any internet-capable device. His girlfriend Bertie, who is also a Free State Project participant, is the one who reached out to me, that's Ian Freeman, and she and Andrew's family have set up a website to accept contributions to his legal defense fund. That website is drewsdefense.org. They can use all the help they can get. Andrew's mother, Judy Jones, is 68. She told me he's very bright, kind, generous, and has always been an idealist. When he first told me about Bitcoins, he helped me envision a world where the central banks are no longer in charge of money. If it were instead a peer-based monetary system, so much good could come from that. I have hope for a better world thanks to his generation, the millennials. Well, you can learn more about Andrew and his fight and why he was considering moving to New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project, all at freekeen.com. I urge you to finish up that article there. And to send your Bitcoin donations to drewsdefense.org. Thanks a lot, guys. I'm going to have to leave you there.
Thank you very much, Derek.
Thank you. Peace, all.
All
Thanks,
right.
Derek.
See you, Derek.
So yeah, check that out at drewsdefense.org. And just a note to people who design these web pages, please put the Bitcoin QR code address on the front, on the top part of the web page. Okay, I want to show you just a real-time example. I'm looking at your web page first time. I click donate. I still don't see the QR code. I have to scroll down. Most people are already gone by now, right? They're already gone. The place for the QR code is at the top of the page on the front page. Top of the page, front page. Not to say that I have a really nice web page or anything, but I made a little web page, and as you can see, the QR code to donate is right here at the top of the page. I have another one here in case you don't get it. It's not my shit. It's not all about donations or whatever, but if you're making a website that is all about donations, QR code, front of the page, top of the page. Go ahead, Chris. Sorry to take us off course there.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But we've got a couple more comments, so let's keep going through this. Dan Gold says he sent Derek Bitcoin. Very cool. Thank you, Dan, for supporting independent media. Dan also says that Mr. Brown was shot in the back. I'm not sure on that. There's been a multiple case of autopsies. There's been a variety of
No, there was a gunshot wound on the back of his arm, which could have easily have been sustained if he'd been facing towards the officer with his arms in the air. So they're not sure about it.
I've heard there was 3 gunshot wounds on the arms, and then additionally a hole in the top of the head, which comes when your head is pointing down, you're falling, or perhaps when you're already on the ground. I wait for more independent information. I would like to know more. So. But let's see. He also says that the criminals are the ones calling themselves the government, and that the government are the individuals that are doing business at the point of a gun. And that reminds me very much of Christoph Atlas's speech at Bitcoin in the Beltway, which you can watch most of on the World Crypto Network, where he talked about a proof of violence system, and that the current system is proof of violence. And if you're willing to do violence, then you get results. And that's how unacceptable that is, and how we'd rather have a proof of work or even a proof of stake system, something based on something not negative. So, and then speaking of slightly negative things, we did get another comment from our friend in Spain who reminds us that FEMA is not only purchasing trains to store Americans on in case there's an emergency action, they've also purchased what are called burial vaults that look like a plastic bin about the size of a person. So these are plastic caskets. and they've apparently purchased millions of them. And this could be a legitimate purchase for a possible flood or possible national disaster. Not the kind of thing you'd want to talk about, but logistically, you have to have somewhere to bury the bodies, or it could be something much, much worse. So, but we're open to both sides of this, and we're just reporting on what's happening and the information we're given. So.
Yeah, I don't think we should speculate on that.
It could go either way. I mean, I'm willing to take them at their word. There's a lot that goes into disaster preparedness that I don't understand because I'm not involved in disaster preparedness. So it's a complex business that they work. So we've also got another comment here. We've got Armando Voltan, who seems to be listening a lot of things that are wrong. He says COINTELPRO, Ferguson, Watts riots, officer, cigar box of stolen cigars. They weren't called blunt wraps or swishers. He wouldn't be surprised if PCP, I'm not sure, I guess the drug, is involved, or psych meds on both sides. Hegelian dialect, divide and conquer. So he said the philosophy word, so we'll let Chris talk to that one. What do you think, Chris?
So I'm reading a lot of things here. Ferguson, Watts riots, officer, cigar box of stolen cigars. They are called blunt wraps or swishers.
I think he agrees that the story is being manipulated. The Ferguson story seems to be highly manipulated, multiple levels of pre-planned propaganda going on.
This is called Story Wars. This is story. Look at this thread here. If you look for Dorian Johnson on Twitter, there's a whole contingent of people that are now reacting to the Ferguson hashtag, because I think, you know, whenever you stick your boot in the ground and you stomp your feet, you instantly create an antithesis. He's using the Hegelian dialect, so let's use the Hegelian dialect then. You have a thesis, antithesis, and then synthesis. And what we're seeing now is the antithesis stage to the thesis of the Ferguson hashtag. So now people are like doing this, promoting this story that apparently Dorian Johnson has admitted that he falsified his report and that now he's being arrested on this basis, or he's being charged on this basis. I haven't seen any official news media report on this. All I've heard are these independent media news sources like Inquisitor, and there's another, some more other, you know, conservative-looking websites that clearly, if I would believe them, if it weren't for the fact that this looks like I'm being told what to think by people that have already made up their mind. I mean, if you read this article, it very much looks like it's coming down on the side of the police officer, and it may well be that it's true. It's just that I'm not finding it very easy to run, you know, fact checks on this, because every time I try looking it up, or I go through the forums, I go through subreddits, and I search around, I can't find anything other than just other people copying and pasting the same damn information.
It is very hard to get truth in a story like this. It's always moving, going around. Armando says, following up, that we're paying attention to Ferguson now and not to Gaza. So there has been a shift in the movement of what we were looking at, and certainly we are paying more attention to the riots at home than perhaps the killings or what else could be going on abroad. We just don't know. So that's a good point. Let's see. Oh, we've got a police rating app. Let me check this out. See, too bad Derek's not here. He'd love police rating app. Let's see. Oh, I'm not sure. There's kids built an app. So it's not even the poster that built it. It's another group. And he says, in response to Ferguson, these kids built an app to rate the police. And I think we would have had these kind of apps earlier, but I'm not sure they're legal. So I know they have websites where they rate professors, and where you can say whether you had a good professor, and the school doesn't like those. I think if they had websites where you could rate cops, the cops wouldn't like it. But it is a good point. If you can get their badge number, if you can get their name, if you could put that into a ratings database, we would have more information on which cops are the good cops and which cops are the bad cops. So definitely an interesting idea. I support it. We also have Dan Gould, who says, when cops are voluntarily paid, i.e. with Bitcoin, they will go from govtard thugs to true police officers. And again, I'm reminded of Snow Crash, which we're reading right now in the World Crypto Network Book Club. And we're joined by Nick from the World Crypto Network Book Club. And Nick, what do you think about the idea that when cops are voluntarily paid, do you think that the, I don't remember the names, meta cops and other kinds of cops,
Yeah, the
peace
enforcers.
the enforcers and the peace officers. There are a couple different corporations that run policing in the world of Snow Crash. Would they be better than our current police?
When you can treat each cop as an individual, then yeah, that's fine, right? Because you could actually sue that cop and his money, his property, etc. is on the line. His life is on the line. He doesn't have the collective backing him and sheltering him and giving him protection from his crimes.
And let's continue this police rating app to its final conclusion. Let's replace the golden worthless badges with QR codes. Let's scan the officer right there on your phone. Oh, how you doing, officer? Oh, did you get off of your performance review? Are you having any trouble? Any more violent outbreaks? Or maybe you could even donate. You could tip to that officer directly. Thank you, officer, for helping me out with my flat tire.
It gets better than that. You'd be able to see all of the arrests that he and she had made. You'd be able to see all the appeals against convictions of people that he'd sent down. It's like, I see you've got a very high appeal rate. It looks to me like people don't actually get convicted when you arrest them. Is there a reason for that? And it's very good. I don't want you to arrest me. I want someone else with a higher reputation to arrest me. Go get someone else. I'll stay here.
We need a public bounty system, right? We need like a bulletin board where you can put bounties on people and shit.
Yeah, if all the cops were wearing video cameras, we'd have a record of everything they did. It's not that expensive. It's not that onerous. It protects the police officer and it protects the public.
You know what
we had
happens,
problems
Tom?
with that in LA though.
Yeah, those cameras tend to mysteriously quit working just at the time they get complaints.
Well, we can fire those.
Right, well then that acts against them, then, doesn't it?
You can't.
No, it doesn't.
Just to make a comment on this, I'll pull up the article in a minute. But they were running a test on this in LA, and they found that like at least half the cars that had the recording devices, etc., were tampered with, and they know who tampered with them, but they're not going to do anything about it. That's what the internal investigation, came to the conclusion. We know who did it, but it's not worth going after them for. We need the cops.
Well, that's L.A. where they had the Christopher Dormer situation where a police officer threatened to turn on the L.A. police, then was hunted down. They burned down his cabin rather than trying to get him alive. There seemed to be no attempt at all to get him alive where he would be testifying against the very police who were hunting him down to his death. So
Okay, I've just invented the world's first blockchain-enabled camera. So what it does at intervals of every, say, 10 minutes is it will create a hash of the last 10 minutes of video, and then it will upload that hash to the Bitcoin blockchain at 10-minute intervals. If anyone tries to change what took place in the last 10 minutes, they'd better act quickly. They've only got 10 minutes to edit it. They've got to take the footage off. They've got to edit it. They've got to put it back on the camera because it's going to send the next hash up to the blockchain, that unfalsifiably. And then what we do is we give reputational points to the most honest police officers who use this best equipment, to the point where all the scummy police officers lose their jobs because the public just loses total confidence in them and won't pay their taxes anymore until they're replaced with the honest ones.
What we're seeing here is on the other side of the state, some of my friends have been having some problems with police harassment, and the police are using cell phone jammers in their cars so the people can't upload the video, live stream it when they're being arrested and held at gunpoint. It's the one guy had an offline camera that he had hid when the cop was threatening to shoot him in the fucking head. Those were the exact words. I'm going to shoot you in the fucking head, when he had an AR-15 on him, and told him that 3 times, and they were jamming his cell phone.
There's a word for that.
And then you didn't arrest him.
That's criminal what they're doing. That's absolutely insane, and it parallels this article.
The DA won't prosecute, and seeing the cops let them go, they don't make an arrest, so there's no record of it, and the cops shut off their dash cams.
And that's just what Nick was saying here in Los Angeles. They tried in-car recording equipment, and they found that about half of the 80 cars in one South LA patrol division were missing their antennas. So the police officers purposely tampered with recording equipment, and then the police decided that they chose not to investigate which officers were responsible. So I can only assume that they fired all the officers in the South LA Patrol Division. I assume that every single person, top to bottom, chief, police chief, assistant chief, should all be fired. Because if you're tampering with equipment that shows how you do your job, this is like a computer programmer editing the logs or fixing your time schedule. Like, you're messing with what they pay you to do. And if they want to record you all the time, police officers, you're going to be recorded all the time. And I think that they should be put in jail for tampering with public equipment. They've damaged public property. They are all criminals. And their leader, whoever the police chief is of this South LA Patrol Division, he should be held doubly accountable. He should get twice or 3 times the sentence. And then we'll see if they mess with their in-car dash cams again. This is ridiculous. It's your job.
They can't do that, though, because then it would show that they cannot properly vet the people they hire. And if they did that, that means they aren't, they're not doing, everybody's bad, right? That they don't know who's bad or good. They could hire a sociopath and not even know. Then there was that cop who killed and ate somebody in fucking New York. Like, come on, that's crazy. How did they did not proper, right? They did not properly vet this person, and this is the state vouching. Everybody who hired that person should be doing time or at least paying restitution to the families that had consumed members.
Restitution for their meals. At the very least, the police should pay for their meals when they're eating people. Really, now.
They have to cover each other. I mean, like Derek said, they're a gang. They cover each other's ass. And if they don't, and they start to expose each other, the whole pyramid just starts to crumble. Because then they start being suspicious of each other and start shooting each other because they're suspicious of each other. And it's like we had talked about the assassination markets, why world leaders don't kill each other. Because it's not the most efficient way to do it. They let the underlings kill the underlings.
Well, until it becomes profitable enough to remove the leader, then some of the leaders get together and they're like, that guy over there, that guy's bad. That guy's doing bad things, and we need to intervene and we need to kill that guy. And then they do. They go and blow up that fool's house, with a Predator drone, and it's like, fuck yeah, we did it. And then some new bad guy comes up, and that's their buddy for a while until that guy's no use, and then they get another one in.
Yeah, it's like professional wrestling. It's just a show for the public, and they all go behind the curtain and shake each other's hands and pat each other on the back and say, great job out there, you put on a hell of a show. We sure pulled the wool over their eyes.
Oh yeah, they'll be celebrating this one. We've got a couple more comments from the sidebar. Dan says that this is good stuff. Thumbs up. Thanks, Dan. Armando says that with the police and everything, it's like a scene out of They Live, where Roddy Piper needed to talk them down when we need it. They Live's a great movie, a true classic. If you haven't seen it, it's a John Carpenter horror movie, so it's got the John Carpenter music. It's a little cheesy, it's a little low budget, but it's a fantastic story of a man who puts on sunglasses and suddenly he can see that all the people on TV and all the government people and all the police are aliens in disguise. It's an incredible premise for a film. They really, I tried to write a remake once. I think there should be a remake or a new version. It's such a powerful idea, and John Carpenter executed it to the best of his ability, but I think he had very little resources to work with at this point in his career. But still, an impressive filmmaker Carpenter is. So.
Yeah, it was very hard to watch those movies now with the old special effects.
There is at least one scene where, of course, Roddy Piper is famously a wrestler, and there is a wrestling fighting scene. And you think that would be fake because he's a world wrestler, but no, they fought for real. He just the two guys beat the crap out of each other until they fall down, and then the director called cut. So and of course it's a very long scene because they really put their all in. But great film, They Live. So we've got a couple more comments. Not sure what this is. I'm going to look this up. And let's see. Roll says that we should speak about Bitcoin because it looks like it's going the good way the last couple days. Let me see where my chart is. We were up over 520 just a few minutes ago. Right now we have a bit of decline. We're back to 511. This is on the 5-minute chart, so we're zoomed in quite a lot. But you can see we've left the lows of about 460 behind, at least for now. No one really knows. And if we look at this top, it's going back up to this 529 that we had before the collapse, down to 442. So we might be out of this thing. It's tough to say. A lot of charts out there. So
no
we've
need
got,
to panic. It's over 500.
Yep, over 500. No need to panic. Did very well. Did all right this time. Holding on to my Bitcoins. So we've got a couple more questions.
We still got a lot of volume trading too, which is nice. Like that's what's needed to keep the price up. You know what I mean? You need to. People need to be liquid so people can buy when they're selling and sell when they buy.
Yeah, I got a message from a friend of mine. Dish Network is actually accepting Bitcoin now.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they did a video on how to pay for it just recently, like some viral marketing video.
Yeah, I think he must have got his bill or something.
Locally,
A message today.
just to make a comment, locally, last night I could have bought Bitcoin at $492 cash in person. Right now it's at $590. So
Oh, wow.
that's a really huge jump. The exchange prices are nice and whatnot. I mostly use it for volume. I like to look at local Bitcoins and Mycelium Trader for prices, though, because I think there's a lot more face-to-face transactions than people really account for. And those don't make it onto charts. You know what I mean? Like they have to self-report if they sold a Bitcoin or not, and I don't think they do that on local Bitcoins.
Oh, you got to be kidding.
Let's see, we've got another update from the comments. Crypto Services writes telling us about Adrian Schoolcraft, who I didn't know about but sounds like a very interesting guy. He was a police officer in New York City who secretly recorded police conversations from 2008 to 2009. He brought these tapes to the NYPD investigators in 2009 as evidence of corruption. He used the tapes as evidence to show that there were arrest quotas leading to police abuses, such as wrongful arrests. So very good thing. Even if you're inside the police like Mr. Schoolcraft, you can still do some good by recording things. If something's going on wrong around you, gather some evidence and try to shut it down. That's what Edward Snowden did recently, as we all know, and a great hero to all of us, I think.
There's tons
Bradley
of these
Manning.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, there's tons of these guys in the police force that bring up things like this, and then they end up getting booted out, and they end up having their whole career smeared and all sorts of stuff, and it ends up like almost destroying their lives, and that's pretty fucking terrible, for someone who's trying to do a service to the people to happen.
If you're gonna do it, go ahead and record them. Get the evidence first. Get a ton of evidence. Get a Nixon-sized pile of evidence. Like, use your tools. You can use your iPhone even. Just record on there. Done.
Yeah, nowadays it's a lot easier with all the technology. Camera phone isn't out of place, whereas a few years ago having a tape recorder or something was a bit obvious.
I think that merges well into the next question we have. Has any of you ever tried to shoot a video of a cop while on duty? If so, what happened? And I can say there's a group out of New Hampshire called Cop Block at copblock.org, and Derek works with them all the time. I saw him at Porkfest, and they do record police officers. Whenever they see someone arresting someone, they walk over and politely record the officer, not interfering, but just go ahead and creating a record of the arrest, even when they don't know the person involved. They try to create this record. And I know Derek has done this many times, and Derek's movie, which of course everyone can check out at Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. You don't need a DVD. You can just watch it at YouTube, and it's free. And it's a movie about how Derek pushed each of these things, and in all of these cases, he's being recorded or he's recording the police. So you have the right to film. Even in New York City, where they had a big lawsuit, a big case, you have the right to film police officers, and it's up to you to exercise that right. You don't know that something's going to go bad, but if you record it, and something goes bad, you have a record of it. If you don't record it and something goes bad, you have nothing. So it's all, and also it's much like the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Once you introduce a camera into the situation, there's a chance that the officer won't beat you to death because there'll be a record of it. So it's great to have a camera and a video phone. A lot of web apps let you broadcast live to the internet, so you'll be safe even if they smash your phone or take it away from you. There's a lot of options. It's getting very fair. It's getting very much to the point where the police officers should treat us like they're on TV and they're on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and maybe we've done something wrong and need to be, slightly punished, but not beaten to death, not shot. And if we have cameras on them all the time on both sides, we're just going to create more record of everything. So,
I have one of those Russian dash cams that does 1080p on my rearview mirror for my car. So, and I have a 64 or 32 gig card in it that does like a 5-hour loop in 3 or 5 minute increments. So anytime I turn my key on the car, it just continually records when I'm driving. And I think you can get those on Amazon dirt cheap now for like $35. And
they're incredibly popular in Russia, where they have so many coordinated hit-and-run accidents that pretty much everyone has a dash cam to protect themselves from these hit-and-run criminals.
I'm surprised they're not more popular here, Tom, in California, to be honest.
I mean,
they probably are on their way up. They're probably the new radar detector.
Yeah, I mean, all you got to do, if you get pulled over when you're driving, all you got to do is reach over there and aim it towards the window, because it does audio too. If you want to post, if you hit a deer or something, you got dash cam footage of it to post on YouTube for your friends. Here's a gruesome video of this deer jumping in front of me.
Well, and that worked to everyone's advantage in Russia when they had that asteroid come down. We had all that footage of it from everyone's dash camera. And it seemed really strange. A lot of us learned then that the Russians were recording all of their driving. And that was the first we'd heard of it. It was very cool.
It's funny, I have actually known about it for a while because I would see the videos pop up, and there's a lot of them where like people would just get their road rage. They get out of the cars and like fist fight while the light is red, and then it's like, oh, the light's green, and they both run back to their cars and drive off.
Oh man.
I've had people yell at me and just do weird things in traffic around here too, and it's like, why are you yelling at me? You're the dipshit. You could have turned over there. It's not my fault the traffic light did that.
Well, and what a great security system. You just push the button and now you're recording, now you're safe. It's a lot like if you use Google Voice on your phone, you can push 3 to instantly record your phone call. Of course, Google's probably recording your phone call anyway. But if you want a copy of it, that does make it very easy and convenient.
Well, you don't even have to do it. As soon as you turn your key on, if it's plugged into your cigarette lighter, it automatically starts up.
It's good technology. Starts automatically. No buttons. See, we've got a couple more questions and answers here. Let's see. Dan says that face-to-face transactions facilitate anonymity. So it is good to use something like local bitcoins. If you want to buy bitcoins and be anonymous about it, that's the way to go. We've also got...
I'd have to recommend for people, though, don't plan on buying large amounts in person. That's just stupid. You don't want to walk around carrying thousands of dollars and having to trust somebody or anything like that. Meet them in a public place. I normally do it at like a Starbucks or, a McDonald's or something where there's free Wi-Fi, and we'll sit there and have a coffee or a drink or something bullshit while we wait for a transaction. I probably have never done more than $500 in person. I'm actually, that's not a lot. That maybe 800 is the highest I've ever done in person.
Very good. And we're going on to the next question. DD Scout 23 says that voluntarily paid cops are called security guards. Private market solving problems, and security guards are accountable. Good point. Let's see. Everyone should crop their screen as Mad Bitcoin so that their QR codes show. I'm not sure that's something that I'm doing. I think that's something strange that Google does. When you host the Hangout, it puts you in the little box, and when the other people are guests on the show, But I've noticed that. I wish it wouldn't do that. I wish it would look all the same so that the character sizes wouldn't change during the video. But we don't really have any control over the Google. So apparently my QR code is visible. Good for me. But next time, I imagine we can just edit these images pretty easily in Photoshop, and we'll just move the QR codes up to this corner. So we'll probably be doing QR codes in the corner next time. Just take a couple minutes. Let's see. Oh, we've got a link to the car accessories for the dash cams. Let's check that out. Is that one of the dash cams?
I posted in chat, I don't know if you saw that Anti-War is doing like a $10,000 pledge right now that they'll get matched. Any donations through September 1st are going to be matched up to $10,000. So if anybody's interested in supporting the anti-war effort, instead of sending your Bitcoin to buy new tanks, you can send it to do the opposite, I guess, and send it over to antiwar.com.
That's very cool, and I totally support it. But again, web designers, look what happens when I make this page big. I can't see the QR code because it's not at the top of the page. It's at the bottom.
Please, people, can you just put the QR code at the top and on the T-shirts and stuff? Because otherwise, he'll never stop going on about it.
Exactly. I mean, I fundraise through posters now. Philippe makes Photoshops, and because Philippe is honest and puts my QR code on there,
this is all we had the whole time with the free Ross thing when we were at Porkfest. He just kept going on. Why don't they put the QR code on the thing?
It's drove me crazy. They have all these people taking pictures with a QR code that's a website. It's a website. I don't care.
Yeah, I know. I heard it, Tom.
Money.
You heard it.
You can send money through the... No, they didn't hear me. They still have it on their website. They still have it. They didn't change anything. No one cares. What's that website that I made? I don't even remember. But I made a website.
And Freedom and Free Ross or something like that. And Freedom for Ross.
And Justice for Ross.
And Justice for Ross. That's it.
It's pretty catchy. But as you can see, I'm following the rules. QR code, top of the screen, right-hand corner here. Boom. Even if you go here to the supporters, you can see that I took all these pictures that people made with the web page address, and I fixed them and put the proper So again, all of these work.
So Tom is available for any usability design. If any web designers out there are thinking of doing some Bitcoin fundraisers, he's very reasonable with his prices.
Yeah, I'm flat broke. I have a lot to say. But, yeah, we can fix this thing. You can put the QR. You don't have to hide this. This is not like the ugly stepchild. This is the money. The money goes in here, and if you're hiding it, you're hiding the ability to people to give you money.
Yeah, it's really freaking annoying when you want to give somebody money and they make it difficult.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta, like, this is the whole thing. The entire, like, the donation box. Like, look at this beautiful graphic they made. Donation box. They put it on wood and everything. Worthless. It accepts no money. Look at this goofy QR code thing. This accepts the money. And maybe you're a web page guy, you don't know this. You need to learn this, because this accepts the money. I'm going to find the
and make it so it's hot linkable for a regular mouse click too.
Yep. Yeah, I like it when they link. It's best when they link this to blockchain.info. You can see everything about the. Like, I mean, here's my QR code. It links to blockchain.info. You can see how many transactions. You can see how much money I have. You can even see right here. Somebody gave us $2.57. They might be watching right now, so I can say thank you right here, because this is a fundraiser. This website right here and a website, a QR code, fundraiser, done.
Coinbase has some wallet thing that people add to their websites that you click on to donate, and it takes you to this weird web page that asks you all these questions, and if you have a Coinbase account, it knows who you are. I went to one of them and it freaked me out because it knew who I was. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm getting the hell out of here. And I didn't donate money.
It's important to have just the plain QR code. I mean, I know the Coinbase thing's cool if you sign up your account. It's a lot like what Amazon does, where they know that you're on all these web pages and they say, hey, you're at this web page, you want to buy some books? It's much like that. They're just trying to recruit more people to Coinbase. But it's important when you're raising money to have both options, to have the QR code at the top.
Just please, everyone, could you just put the QR code at the top of your websites?
They're not going to, and I'm going to keep telling them. It's going to keep being embarrassing for them. And these are well-paid, expensive people. I'm poor and broke. have no job. I can already tell you.
What this is really
barcode
about.
on your screen, you're a freaking moron. Like, I don't know who's paying you, but they're idiots. So it's a team of morons working together. So.
And we could have put our QR codes on the top, and we didn't even think of it. So we're morons too.
We'll get it. We have plenty of web pages where it's on the top. They're supposed to be.
I love this. I'm liking this guy, Armando Votan. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He says, I'm trading, crypto tweeting, listening to mad bitcoins, arbitraging, brainstorming, and hanging out with the dog all at the same time. This paradigm is awesome. I totally agree. It's like ADHD dream, right? Like you grew up as an ADHD kid and the whole world was built against you. The whole world was designed to like act against your way of being. Whereas now everything in our world is coming together and we are the master race. No, I didn't say that. But like we have everything now. Like we can do all these different things at the same time, and it turned out the whole world was just designed wrong.
I can't do all those things.
Let's see. You can only multitask so much, but you have to. If you look at the image like
came out today and said he still wants Linux to take the desktop.
It will, but no one even cares about the desktop anymore. They're onto tablets and iPhones. Like, once again, open source software, I love you, but you move too slowly. Like, people want cutting edge stuff. There you go.
Right
Android is on a tablet. You've got options.
Yeah, it's getting there. I want to talk about this. Is still funny as fuck, right? So you got these two trolls on the Dorian hashtag, Dorian Johnson hashtag, which is currently trending on Twitter. And this guy is like, so the kid paid for the goddamn swishers, your move, justifiable homicide enthusiast. Then the next troll comes in, he's like, not legit actually, Dorian Johnson admitted to robbing the store, your move. And then Mr. Durden comes back, the officer had no prior knowledge of the infraction when the victim was gunned down, check. And then it's like, no, the officer was assaulted, mate. I love these trolls, I think they're brilliant.
How do they know that?
No, dude, no citations. No. Don't be thinking there's any fact-checking going on. They're just working off of Facebook posts and rumors, just things they heard. I have not seen a single credible source that backs up. You look at all these trolls, like, perpetuating this story.
I saw an article earlier, Chris. It was about the guy who talked to the public or whatever when they had the press conference for the autopsy, and they're like, oh, he's not even a doctor and he doesn't even have a degree in like a real medical field. And I was like, but I never read anything where they claimed he was a doctor. Like, why does it fucking matter? The dude who did the autopsy was someone else. This was just like a dude who worked, who like oversees the autopsies and shit.
The coroner, who wasn't here a coroner. Yeah, so yeah, there's all that, and then you've got this is really shocking, right? So we had this picture that was allegedly of Mike Brown that was being put around. I remember seeing it, and someone sent it to me in a tweet. Turns out it wasn't even the same guy. It was a guy from a totally different shooting that was unrelated. It's not even Mike Brown, and this was used to kind of slander him, to kind of make him look bad, as if he wasn't innocent, as if the homicide was actually justified. And it turns out it was someone completely different.
What does that have to do with him this picture right here? He's got a gun, he's got some booze, he's got a Hawaiian Punch, his homies, in the background smoking. What there deserves him getting shot?
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Well, what does this have to do with anything?
It's the Hawaiian Punch. It's the Hawaiian Punch.
Hawaiian Punch, sorry.
Yesterday there was that big article in the Washington Post that said the victims are responsible.
So maybe what we need to do is set up a task force for social media fact checkers, because Carnegie Mellon did a study once where they manufactured a protest by using pictures of old protests, but they got something like 20 accounts on Twitter, 20 people operating these accounts that were posting out these pictures of a protest saying this is happening, and everyone believed it was happening. People kept retweeting it, and people kept, I don't know if it was on Twitter.
That happened recently, Chris, with this recent Israel-Gaza thing. There was a bunch of pictures flooding the net that were of like 2009 when they had bombed Gaza. And people were like, oh my God, look at all the death and destruction. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. And then little research, like, that's an old picture. That picture isn't even, of yesterday or whatever. That's from 4 or 5 years ago.
Mm. Yeah, and it's this ability to control the narrative. It's someone called it something the other day, perspective management or something like that. And it's all about helping to frame it. And the fools are the ones that aren't able to think critically. The fools are the ones that just believe whatever they're shown, and they just follow opinion instead of actually doing the fact checking for themselves. We should set up a task force, like a small work group or some place that we can all convene, or anyone can just volunteer their time and say, right, before we release this, what World Crypto Network should do is build itself a reputation for being a good quality independent news source.
We should make a bounty system. That way we can post, is this legit? Whoever, proves that this is legit is going to claim this bounty. It's like the assassination market thing, except for assassinating misinformation.
Yeah, and what I recommending people do as well is set up PGP keys and publish your fingerprint, and actually, like, whenever you report this stuff, sign it with your PGP key. And even if you don't want to use your real name, that fingerprint becomes your identity, right? And then the more time and effort you put in, you can publish a Bitcoin address with it. And then every time you're like going off and you're fact checking, people can see, like, oh, look, this chap, whoever this person is clearly doing a good job of hunting through the forums, actually reading the article all the way to the bottom, actually going through the comments. That would be really, really powerful. We could do with something like that.
I see a lot of times on Facebook, especially, we call them drive-by link monkeys. They just keep posting links and perpetuating the false stories because they do. Oh, it's not my fault that the story's false if you call them on it, because it's not my fault. All I did was share a link.
Yeah.
Well, then at least apologize for spreading misinformation. You can at least admit, you know what, I spread this thing and it is wrong. At least post something afterwards and acknowledging it's wrong. Don't just, oh, it's not my fault. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't know pissing in the river upstream was going to make you drink my piss. I didn't know that. I'm so sorry.
That's a good analogy. I like it.
Yeah, it all goes back to the personal responsibility and not taking any. I see it time and time again. I've spent hours searching for credible sources on things, and I've retracted things and put things on my websites and things because I've mistakenly shared a link like that, and it's embarrassing to do, but I think it's very important if you want to maintain your credibility. And I would rather say that I was wrong and have somebody know that I'm honest about being wrong and have some credibility over it.
Yeah, absolutely. Honesty goes a long way, and it's very undervalued nowadays.
Well, I think that as more inauthenticity and as more kind of cronyism emerges, it will actually put a premium on honesty. I think people are very good at recognizing authenticity and truth, and I think the value of truth never goes down. Walter Benjamin, has this quote that says that we will never lose our estimation in the truth. That truth is the one commodity in the market that never loses its value, not in the long run anyway.
One thing I've seen too, and I've actually had store clerks get angry with me for pointing out that they didn't charge me enough. I'll come up there and say, for instance, I'll bring up 3 items that are the same, and they only scan 2 of them, and we'll bring up the price. I'll say you forgot to scan this one? Screw you, I scanned them all. It's like you're trying to say they did a bad job, like you're insulting the work they're doing. And it's like, no, I'm not trying to insult your job or your performance here. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm paying for all of this.
You're
But yeah,
you're a very rare person, JB. Most people would not be that honest in today's society. I've noticed recently they have self-checkout at Walmart. They've converted the area. It used to be kind of an open area. Now it's a box like a jail because they want you to know when you're doing the checker's work for yourself that they're watching you and they're tracking you and that you better scan it properly. Whereas an employee could get away with that. So.
yeah,
Man, they get a lot of shoplifting there. I was at I lived next to a Big Lots, and this woman had a painting, and she stacked like all these heavy things on top of this painting, and she was trying to just get this it's like a $10 painting out of the store for free, like as soon as the lady wanted to charge her for it, she threw a fit and just left. And I was like, whoa, what the hell just happened? And I wasn't there for the whole thing, because I had gotten in line and I was like 2 people back. But it started off. The lady's like, "I need to get that down there," and she's like, "There's nothing down there." And then from there it just escalated to her, eventually throwing up her hands and leaving.
What a strange item to steal. You steal a painting, so every time you look at that beautiful picture on the wall, you can be reminded how you're a thief. That's just terrible. People,
yeah, it was weird.
Mr. Rogers is so right, and like Sesame Street, all these early ideas. All I really need to learn, I learned in kindergarten. That kind of thing. We all need to go back to because what if you were being watched all the time? Well, you'd want to act a lot better. You'd want to be a lot nicer to people. Well, why don't you just pretend you're being watched all the time and be nice to people first, and we don't have to go through this.
Well, Santa's always watching.
Exactly. He's making a list. He's checking it twice. He's going to find out if you're naughty or nice. He knows. He's like the CIA, to quote Calvin and Hobbes, of course.
So he does double bookkeeping?
Yes, double entry bookkeeping.
Double entry bookkeeping?
Bitcoin ledger, the Santa Claus ledger, the Santa chain. It's all up there. You want to know who Satoshi Nakamoto is? Santa Claus. SN, SC, very close. Saint Nick, even. SN, if you want to do the abbreviations game. But let's move on to another topic. I did a challenge today. It's called the California Dirt Bucket Challenge for Drought Awareness. It's about 30 seconds. Let's check this out. Good morning, Bitcoins. My name is Mad Bitcoins, and this is the California Dirt Bucket Challenge. That's awesome. I'd now like to challenge Nick and everyone at the World Crypto Network to take the California Drought Awareness Dirt Bucket Challenge. And as you can all tell, there was no water wasted during that video. And I'm not the first to call attention to the Ice Bucket Challenge and how you're wasting water and the rest of us in California are conserving water. I'm surrounded by a lot of dead lawns, a lot of dead trees. And the drought is such a serious business in California that they've added water cops to clamp down on H2O abusers in LA. And the LA situation is pretty bad. Northern California was able to save about 30% of their water, and Los Angeles actually used 30% more instead of saving. So I really hope that the Southern California will get on this drought issue. California.gov/drought has more information on the drought, which is a serious issue. As you can see, on the left, this is what it used to look like with the water. This is what it looks like now. This is a really great visual thing that they've put together. I just noticed right now looking at it. There used to be boats out there. There's hardly any boats now. Look at that snowpack. There used to be snow there. There's hardly any snow now. Look at that. They can build and park cars on places where there used to be water. That's how bad this is. And you people are dumping it over your heads. I mean, I read Dune. I know about water conservation.
Bad. It is so bad. Like I told you guys in one of the other videos when I was taking that road trip up through Central California, drove over one of these bridges and there was no water under it. So the signs that said no diving off the bridge were a little funny considering the water's 30 feet down and there's no water under the bridge.
You'd have to be a damn fool to dive off that bridge. Why they even bother with that sign? Libertarians would tear that sign out because there's no water there. So... But of course, much respect to the ALS Association at alsa.org. If you'd like to donate to help stop Lou Gehrig's disease, I'm very much in favor of that. You don't have to waste water to donate to ALS. You can just donate directly. In fact, that's what their challenge is actually about. If you dump the water bucket on your head, you're actually a cheapskate who's not contributing to ALS. You're just dumping water and challenging someone else. which helps spread celebrity and it helps spread the Ice Bucket Challenge, but it doesn't actually help donate. And as we're slightly pointing out with our video and hopefully other people's videos, it's a big waste of water, and we don't.
Slacktivism is the other term for it. It's where you're not really doing anything. You're just kind of like hitting a button or you're retweeting something.
Well, you're not actually donating to ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease. That'd be horrible. You're donating to fundraiser.
Absolutely. We're not going to donate directly to the virus, no matter how easy they might make us with the QR codes above the page and all the other things that the virus does to make it easy to donate to it. That's why it's so...
You know that California is on a coastal region, right? So you know there's a big, big chunk of water on the left-hand side. And why don't you just desalinate that? You know what really helps
Energy
desalinate?
costs.
No, well, hang on, let me finish. You know what really helps desalinating water? Heat.
Trees.
You know where heat comes from? Sorry? Yes, trees. But also, I'm thinking Bitcoin miners produce quite a lot of heat, don't they? And there's quite a lot of Bitcoin miners in California. And there's quite a lot of salt water in California. And all I'm saying is, why don't you take some of that heat, evaporate some of that water, and there you go. You've got your own drinking water. Boom. Job done.
They could continue the Ice Bucket Challenge, just use salt water. Go to the beach, use salt water. People can't drink it. You know?
Salt water doesn't freeze, though. It freezes at like -20 or something.
Don't tell them that. They'll spend all day trying to make ice cubes out of their salt water.
Why isn't this freezing?
Hey, we don't have this problem here.
Too many scientists? Yeah. Let's see. We've got a couple more stories over here in the screen share. Bitcoin Day Omaha 2014 sent me this on Twitter. Sounds cool. They want to have a Bitcoin Day in Omaha, Nebraska, September 15th from 2 to 9 p.m. They're trying to raise some money to put on a little public show and to teach people about Bitcoin. They have a photo here of the first documented customer merchant Bitcoin transaction in Omaha at Pizza West on July 24th, 2014. So very cool, Bitcoin Omaha. Support those guys. We've also got these pictures of giant legs. Look at this. You can see the little people. Boy, look how small the people are. And look at this massive lifter. Look how small the lifter is. And look, these legs go all the way up. That's right. Burning Man is next week. And we're already in contact with Gary LaChance of the Decentralized Dance Party, who's setting up Camp Dogecoin, and who says he looks forward to scheming with us in the desert. And as you all know, So You Think You Can Decentralize Dance? The new series from Philippe on Photoshop. We've got Mad Bitcoins kicking it out. We've got Mr. Chris Ellis strutting around. And Gary LaChance from the Decentralized Dance Party, Tom and Gary's Decentralized Dance Party, which we hope to work with them and the World Crypto Network, maybe get that idea of the Bitcoin Roadshow outside here, include a virtual viral dance party. They do this incredible service where they have boom boxes, they have a radio transmitter, and they go into a public place and they have a party. And I think that we can very much incorporate Bitcoin into that. They've already incorporated Bitcoin for their fundraising.
That's what they did in Ferguson.
Yeah, we get a dance party going there.
Yeah, because they were telling the people, you better move or we're going to arrest you. Throw on the boombox, start having a dance party, start a conga line, something.
No, he's certainly in favor of dancing. So if we get the music going, I'm sure it'll be fine, and maybe the cops will even join in. And look again how easy it is to donate Bitcoins. Right here on this poster that Philippe made of Mad Bitcoins at Burning Man, you can send Bitcoins right to the QR code on this poster. And it's not just me or Philippe that can make these. You can make your own Photoshops. You can put these up not just on the internet, on Twitter. You put them in a public place. Someone can pull out their phone, scan you some Bitcoins right away, $5, $500, 50 cents, less than a nickel. It doesn't matter. This is the new future of fundraising. These QR codes equal money, and you need to be putting them on everything, as I've been saying. Go ahead, Chris. Tell them how I'm right.
Yeah, you have. You have been saying that. You've been saying it a lot. Hey, you can also make a QR code go to a website as well. How about that, Tom? Is that a good idea, making the QR code link to a website?
No, that's a failed technique of Pepsi cans. The Pepsi cans have that on there because you're too stupid to go to Pepsi.com, or maybe they have a new initiative for PepsiFunStuff.com and you're not going to type that in. That's for like lazy, stupid people. using the QR code and the Bitcoin address, this is what it was made for. This is the magic of the QR code. That something so worthless and so useless as you're too stupid to type in worldcryptonetwork.com, so we put the web page over here, because you're going to use an app on your phone every time you type in a web page? That's ridiculous. I use a keyboard. No, Bitcoin, QR code, and not just Bitcoin, of course, Dogecoin, Litecoin, Feathercoin, Verycoin, Viacoin, Miacoin, Joeycoin, Freddycoin, Ralphcoin. All of these coins are going to be used through QR codes. This is what they're going to be used for in the future. People haven't caught up to it yet, but that's okay. We'll just continue to be ahead of the curve. Let's see. We've got a couple more comments. Dustin points out about democracynow.org. I love their show. I've been watching Amy Goodman for a long time, a lot of years. And maybe they should take Bitcoin. Maybe they should take Bitcoin tips. Maybe they should be the next target of the Change Tip Avengers. Democracy Now! They put their videos on YouTube. We could go check that out, or at least they used to. Everyone should, really. But yeah, it looks like they've got a link to YouTube on their homepage. Dan Gould says that I've outdone myself with the Dirt Bucket Challenge. Thank you. I thought it looked pretty good. Audio got messed up, but I narrated it all right. And the point's there. Just a little poke. They're wasting our water. So, and finally another comment from Armando. And it's loading, and it's loading, and it's not there. Thanks, Google. Oh well, we were gonna have another question from Armando, but question and answer stopped working. Let me unload it and reload it. Nope, it's gone.
Ooh, check out chat, Tom. Have you seen these new coins somebody posted as like a collector, thing that you fund yourself? They look super freaking cool.
What are they? Do you have one?
Like a physical cold storage wallet, like a Cash coin or something, but these are a bit different, and they look awesome.
Ah, so they put the QR code in these?
I guess you could. I don't know. I kind of want one of these just to have. They look freaking cool.
Wow, it looks like you can make them out of chocolate too.
Kialara or something they're called. Yeah, Kialara coin. Oh wow.
There's the 3D rendering and the artwork. Layers. It has layers to it. And there's a hologram. So that's the Bitcoin part. Added security. This is great. When I started this, I was aware that tamper-proof holograms had been defeated. My thinking was that removing access to the edge of the hologram would prevent such an attack from taking place. The screws that hold everything together are painted with Lowsite red before the countersunk nuts are added. It is only removable once cured by heating up parts to 500 degrees Fahrenheit. So when the hackers at DEF CON had broken Casasius coins, they found that they could kind of apply heat to get the plastic layer off. Then they could copy down the private code. Then they could reapply the plastic layer, making it look like it hadn't been tampered with. Well, apparently these guys have upped the scale by putting some paint on the screws. So as you can see, that it hasn't been tampered with. Very cool. Extra security. The heads of each screw is drilled out, and then you could put your Bitcoin into this metal wallet, and your private key would be hidden in there. So pretty interesting stuff. Oh, and for each coin purchase, $10 in donations will be made towards New Haven Homes for Honeybees. This is the goal to stop colony collapse disorder. So that would be pretty cool. Like that idea too. A lot of good stuff on this webpage. But you know what they don't have? QR codes. Here we go. Available for purchase on eBay. Kialara Physical Bitcoin. So check these out at maxfield.me.com. Interesting stuff, Nick.
Yeah, those are very cool. Very cool. I'm a Cash coin owner. I probably should do something about them, but I don't know. I kind of just like having them. They're nice.
All right, we got another question from DD Scout. How's the Skyhook ATM treating you? Any stories of use? I did take it to our local Bitcoin meetup recently, and it was pretty neat because it attracted the owner of the pizza place. In all the other times, he kind of ignored our meetings. We aren't very big. We order a couple pizzas. But this time, he came over, sat down with us, tried out the Bitcoin vending machine, even put $1 in, vended himself $1's worth to try it out, and he seemed very interested that the entire chain could accept Bitcoin, and maybe they could be the first pizza place to accept it on a large scale, and he was going to talk to his friends at the head office. So a Bitcoin vending machine like the Skyhook can help you attract a crowd. It can help you attract attention. People want to know what that thing is, and maybe they'll come try it out, put $1 in. So very cool thing.
Does the Skyhook have to have an active internet connection, and do you have to preload it with Bitcoin, or how does that work?
It uses a blockchain.info account, so it does have to be active to send the transactions. It might have kind of an offline waiting mode where it will hold the transactions and send them when you get online. I haven't tested very much with that, but you just load your Bitcoins into a blockchain account, and that's like loading money into the ATM. So before I went to the meeting, I transferred $20 over to my blockchain account, and it just sat there. And I had another idea of putting the QR code for that account on the machine, so that if you wanted to donate to the Bitcoin ATM machine itself, you could just donate the funds that you purchased back to the machine. And I think this kind of idea for nonprofits and charities and other people who bought these Bitcoin vending machines, and they're kind of looking for a way to pay for them because they're pretty expensive. Well, even only $1,000 for the Skyhook, but still a lot of money. You can have them donate the money back to the machine, and then it'll actually operate itself then.
Yeah, that's what I had been wondering about it, is, if it's a live thing or if you have to actually pay to. It was just confusing to me how it ran to who was the middleman between the blockchain and the person buying them.
Yeah, it's blockchain.info is essentially the middleman, which is pretty much the best middleman you could get because they have no access to your private keys. So you just put the money in there, it pays out through the ATM. It does have some settings for like a base price, like it won't sell Bitcoin below a certain price if you don't want to. You can put a fee on the ATM so you can make a little money when people buy Bitcoin from you. It's a little odd it doesn't show you that fee. I'd kind of rather have it show them the fee. It's a little more honest. It does update the price automatically. You can choose which exchange you want to use, and mainly it just runs through the Android tablet that comes with it. It comes with a little Google tablet, and that runs the whole thing. So.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I do need to do a more detailed review of the Skyhook. My Trezor wallet has arrived, but I don't have time to configure it now, so that's going to be pushed back. Most of these things are going to be happening in a couple of weeks when we start Mad Bitcoin Season 3, so coming soon.
Yeah, I'd asked Magnus in Sweden how he liked his Trezor wallet, and I got a one-word answer, or 2 words. It's awesome. So. Yeah,
the only thing I really know so far about the Trezor, it's very small, and it's shipped in a normal little padded bag shipping container. So it's a very small item for how valuable it could become very quickly. So.
Yeah, it's a lot smaller than I anticipated. It's a little bit bigger than a USB stick, where when I had seen it on the Start Join website or Kickstarter website, it just appeared a lot larger, like it was more like the size of a tape measure or something, but it's actually a lot smaller.
And remember, it doesn't need to be that big. That's part of the beauty of Bitcoin, is all it's doing is storing a couple of private keys in there, the ability to sign keys, and that's it. That could be $1,000 or $100,000. It's all the magic of Bitcoin.
How about your other gadgets, like your printers, Piper printer, and?
I still like the Piper paper wallet printer. I've tried it out, and I say that 3 times fast. I've heard on Twitter there are some people who've had trouble with it, so continue contacting support, and support at Piper, if you're listening, please read your support requests and reply to them. People may be having just bad units. Mine's printed about 40 or 50 paper wallets. They come right out. Just had no trouble. I've hooked it up to the TV. You can plug in a keyboard, and you can alternate. You can plug in a mouse, or you could maybe get a USB port. But this allows you to run it on the TV. It's a Raspberry Pi. It runs some version of Linux that came up. It had a lot more options than I thought. It really was a full computer in there. And you could set various options on the machine if you want to print out 2 paper wallets that are the same, if you want to have other things. It didn't look like you could do password-protected wallets, but I'm not sure on that. That might be possible. But yeah, very cool machine, the Piper paper wallet printer. Only about 120, 140 bucks. If you have a demonstration unit like a Skyhook vending machine, putting the Piper right next to it is perfect because you can print a wallet, give it to the person, they can put $1 in the Bitcoin machine, hold up their QR code, scan it to a piece of paper, take it home, and they have a secure offline paper wallet that they can just hold on to and see how this Bitcoin thing goes. So.
Yeah, I've been wondering about BIP38 wallets, if Piper them could do that, but
it doesn't seem like it. It might. I'm not ruling it out 100%. It might be in the configuration options, but I didn't see it right off the bat. And obviously there's no interface on the thing normally, so it's not really what they're looking for. But it does just make kind of basic paper wallets, but still it prints them offline, which is the key. It's not connected to the internet at any time. Your private keys never touch the internet. Let's see, we've got some more breaking news. What have you got going on here in the comments, Nick?
Maggie Metals posted a couple days ago that in 2016 they're no longer going to take dollars. They're only going to accept sound money. So they're moving into basically to promote cryptocurrencies and only take cryptocurrencies as a form of payment for gold and silver in the future.
Very cool.
That's super cool, right? Because they're a big. They do a lot of sales and selling precious metals to people in the crypto with cryptocurrency. I've purchased from them in the past, and they do a pretty good job. They have a good customer service and whatnot, so that's awesome. And then the other thing I posted is that cop in I think it was last night who pointed the gun at the news people and was like, hey, or the journalists, and was like, hey, I'll fucking kill you, get away from me, blah, 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 and was pointing the gun at him. He's been relieved of duty and it's suspended indefinitely. He probably has to go through the police union, etc., to get him fired because of all their nonsense. But that's probably the first really good news from of the cops taking action, I guess. But that guy was so far out of the line. That guy was so far out of line that if they didn't at least do this, shit probably would have hit the fan in the next day or two from just the people being outraged.
This is the disinfectant of sunlight, right? Now that we get this all out in the open, these police officers, like any other company, like any other business, have a PR department. And when that chief of police, or I don't know what you call them in America, has to go on the cameras in the morning on the microphone, he has to answer to these tweeters. And if you've got people with video footage uploading it to YouTube, uploading it to Twitter overnight, that completely shifts the power structure. Right? Now they have to think before they act. And that's what this is. This is a big face-off between the public. There's all kinds of things, and you don't just get it with the police. You get it in offices too, where you have bullying that can take place between these psychopaths, which, as I say, are ubiquitous. They exist everywhere, not just in police forces and armies and in parliaments and Congress. They exist everywhere. And what they hate the most is witnesses. They only commit their crimes if they think they're in a private area. So the next time your boss treats you like shit and talks to you, why don't you turn around to them and say, how would you feel if you knew I was recording this? Would you still be talking to me this way if you thought I was going to upload this to social media later? And what they do when you do that, and I actually have some undercover footage because I can never get a job. I am the most unemployable person ever because I do not take shit. And I do not like being spoken to in a way that is demeaning or, as a way of trying to control me. I also don't like being lied to. So I've got all kinds of undercover footage that I used to shoot of bosses, in the film industry, just going off. They did not know I was filming them, and I never said anything at the time. I wish I kind of had. And I've just kept it. I don't know why I keep it, but I would encourage everyone to do that. You can get little fob keys, and you can buy badges that have cameras in them. You can buy them off of Amazon for $40. And just go around. And if your boss is a psychopath or a police officer in your neighborhood is like that, or anyone you know, just record them. And I wouldn't even tell them, just upload it to the internet and just expose them for what they are. And then they'll soon come around. As soon as they realize they've got a PR problem, they suddenly stop being a psychopath, because that's what psychopaths have to do. They have to keep switching between nice and nasty, right? On one hand, they kind of want the control and they want the power, until, of course, everyone sees them acting like that. And all of a sudden, it's like, no, no, and they try to gloss over it, and they use all this kind of weasel words and all this lovely language.
And you can see this in a lot of Derek's videos. When Derek has the video camera, and the police are used to him having the video camera now, so it's not a surprise, they treat him completely differently. They're kind, they're polite, they're responsive. And again, just adding the camera to your situation, like the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. We don't know where that electron is, or we don't know what
exactly.
But as soon as we put the camera in there, we get to figure out which one of those is true. And this is your chance. Is it a good cop or a bad cop? Or is it a bad cop that's good when cameras are around? You can only really test it out. So it's a very good scientific experiment for everyone to run.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to go through a couple more comments, and then we're going to be on our way soon. Dan says that he loves his Piper wallet, so there's another vote of confidence for the Piper. If you want to print out paper wallets and you don't want to watch my 25-minute how-to video, and it takes much longer than 25 minutes, you have to be very patient to print paper wallets properly. You have to go and boot into Tails Linux. It's not that difficult, but if you're afraid of it, buy a Piper paper wallet printer, print a paper wallet at the touch of a button. We've got a question on the Trezor. Will it survive EMP? And yes, it will, because the Trezor has a paper wallet. It lets you write down a mnemonic, a series of words that will let you back into your account if you ever lost or your Trezor was destroyed by EMP or just a piece of heavy weight or something. So the Trezor is pretty cool. And I think the last topic of the day is Dustin. He'd like to know if we'll talk about mining contracts. So Chris, do you have an update on the very exciting world of buying Bitcoin mining in advance with other Bitcoins?
Yeah, we actually did it on our Developer Watch segment. Our new segment on Chris Before Coffee is called Developer Watch. You have to kind of imagine some reverberation, and you have to imagine some fancy graphics when we announce it. And Peter Todd, who's been a sort of sporadic contributor to the Bitcoin Code over the years, he's kind of contributed here and there, and he's danced around from project to project, proposed the notion that Bitcoin miners, these companies that sell the hashing power, should prove that they are actually hashing by producing the one of the signatures from the block inside of the next block that gets published on the blockchain to prove that they are mining. Because otherwise, all they could be doing is recycling the money, taking old money from customers and paying out new customers as they sign up in a kind of pyramid scheme. So I would be very cautious. I'm still waiting for feedback from GigaHash and Sexio. I am scheduled to talk to, I think it's Jeffrey Smith there, who's based in London. He's friended me on LinkedIn, and one of the members of staff has assured me that he is available for an interview, so I'm hoping to interview him in a couple of weeks. But I would definitely say buyer beware with these contracts, and only go with some of the more reputable firms that have a presence in the community where they put their real faces on screen and you know who they are.
And that was Developer Watch. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Developer Watch. So there you go, little music. Of course, that was
I just realized. I just saw that was Steve Ballmer in the corner. The first time I saw it, I didn't realize that, but this time I did. It's like, what's that weird gif of him going,
Developers.
Yeah, that's him like screaming, yeah.
Developers. And now he owns Clippers.
Yeah, we should ask Philippe if he can do us a graphic and maybe like have Gavin Andreessen as like dressed up as Satoshi as he was at Amsterdam, and have some of the other developers kind of like I don't know, he'll come up with something. He's a genius.
Yeah, that Gavin with the Satoshi bit, that could very much be in a softcore porn movie. He looked about dressed up, ready to work there. He looked like a mad scientist in a cheap porn. So, but with that great image, we're about to leave you. So, but first we want to go ahead and promote some things. Later on today, if I can finish the section of the book I'm supposed to read by then, we'll be having the World Crypto Network Book Club around 7 o'clock tonight. So I've got 4 hours to read about 50, 60 pages, piece of cake. And Nick will be here for that. And we also got Megan Lords is going to be interviewing Chris Ellis later today on Crypto Convos on Megan Lords' YouTube channel. So check that out. And later it'll be on World Crypto Network. And maybe we'll just close. You guys could just say what your favorite World Crypto Network show is. I'm going to say This Week in Cryptos. Check it out this weekend, every weekend, for the Mad Puppet, as he tells you what's going on, and with a little bit of humor. Chris, what do you like on World Crypto Network?
Actually, I really like Mad Bitcoins, and I still have fond memories of it. And I really do. I'm not just saying that. I really do. I still, every time I hear the music, and I go back on some of the shows, and you did that wonderful homage to, Fight Club, which I thought was good. So yeah, I would say, I don't know, they're all my favorite. I don't have a favorite, but yeah, I like Mad Bitcoins.
Jamie, do you have a favorite or just one you'd like to promote?
I like a lot of them. I really like Christoph Atlas's Dark News show. He brings a lot of different views to the table and a lot of great information every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central, or 3 p.m. Eastern.
Time. We need that unified time. Nick, do you have a favorite show other than World Crypto Network Book Club? I know you.
I like Bitcoin Rush. I'm a big fan of Bitcoin Rush. That show is just awesome. I watch it every time he posts a new episode. That's like click, and I have to watch it. It's just fantastic.
He has a great energy. He's really excited about Bitcoin. You can tell it in everything he does. He's completely honest about being excited about Bitcoin. And we're honest about being excited about being off TV, because we've been on TV almost all morning on Chris Before Coffee and now Bitcoin Talk Show. So without any further ado, we're out of time. Until next time, bye-bye.
Bye.